that does it.
Flashes coming up at the top of staircase. There's an easy kill for Hyper in a second and a third. DarkZero in full control. A triple for Grixer, and there's the quad. United.
Great teamwork. Sonics take the lead again.
Disrupt the best of the best.
His teammate's gone, and what's this? He's got a Nitro Cell as well. TSM.
Tempo Storm absolutely storms through this matchup. Oxygen takes the series.
Space Station Gaming are your world champions.
Welcome to Phase 2, Play Day 3 of the Rainbow Six Siege US Division. Today, DarkZero versus TSM, then Tempo Storm versus E United. Everyone so excited about this first matchup. All focus on getting to the major. All eyes on DarkZero versus TSM. I'm Jackie Jing. I'm with Velly and Jesse. Gentlemen, I cannot wait to see this series. How y'all feeling?
I'm feeling great. Today's going to be a very important day, and I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about that when we take a look at the brackets.
We will be in just a hot second there. Jesse, how about you? How you feeling today?
I feel
Happy
good.
Wednesday.
Oh, yes, the best of Wednesdays. Obviously, one of the two best days of the week because we get the NAL US Division. We're going to have a great match, obviously. You know, A group has been phenomenal so far, and I'm sure it's going to keep on being that.
I am so hyped for today, but really quickly, we have a quick word from our sponsors. Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get to today's action, let's talk about Monday really quickly. DarkZero lost to SSG, E United lost to the Sonics, and now we are here. Okay, to today's schedule. DarkZero will play TSM, hoping to clinch that last major spot. I'm so excited about it. And then Tempo Storm versus E United. So we got the schedule up, gentlemen. How are we feeling today?
Jesse?
Yeah?
Feel free.
I mean, okay, sure. DarkZero versus TSM is obviously the one that we're going to highlight. I mean, this is the one where we have the final auto invite to the major on the line. There's still one more spot to be given out for the major, but that'll be given out at the North American qualifiers. The winner of Tempo Storm versus United will still have a chance to get there, but it's still going to be a long road for those teams, even if they win that matchup later today. So there's a lot on the line for these teams, and I think we're going to have a good day.
Yes.
Okay, and Tempo Storm versus E United later.
Yes. So I'm a big fan of football, and usually we have a Super Bowl at the end of the year to see who the best of the best is. This is like the Super Bowl to see who the worst of the worst is if you lose that game. So that one is going to be big for everything for these two teams because they're the only teams left that haven't even won a single game yet. So I'm pretty sure they're going to go all out and give us the best gameplay possible, or we hope so.
Yes, we are hoping so. I do feel like a lot on the line for both teams. Both really want to prove themselves for different reasons. But really quickly, let's check in with our casters, Kixon and Taro. We have been talking about this matchup all day, the big group of us. But gentlemen, how are you feeling? You're going to be casting this huge matchup. So many eyes on y'all today.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. It's a rematch actually from Group B earlier in the season. So DZ won that one, I think, in a surprising 2-0 for most people. I don't know if Michael would agree with me on that one, but I would imagine that this is going to be a story of redemption for TSM. They haven't exactly had as hot of a season as they would have liked, and DZ as well. A bit embarrassed over that result that happened on Monday, as I think most people expected it to be much closer against Space Station.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. We've had a lot of really upsetting matches. Definitely agree with your assessment of the TSM DZ match in Group B in Phase 1. And yeah, similarly, DZ versus SSG, the whole lead up to this match has been a story of inconsistency. Both TSM and DarkZero have looked really strong, at times through this season, and at other times have faltered in a puzzling way. So I guess today we get the ultimate conclusion, and we get to find out who's taking that major spot.
All right, and y'all wearing blue and yellow again. Did you plan that?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Is that yellow? that looks like brown on Parker. I don't know. He's gonna have to confirm. Or maybe
this is brown.
Yellow.
This is
brown.
definitely its brown tweet.
Jackie's colorblind.
Okay, apparently. I thought that was yellow. Anyway, y'all looking fantastic. My analyst looking fantastic, and we're super excited about today's matchup. Let's check out the bracket really quickly and talk about today's matches. Let's just get you caught up in case you haven't been paying attention for the last few minutes. Y'all know who's playing. DarkZero versus TSM. Jesse, why don't you start off chatting about Group A, and then Bella, you can tackle Group B.
Sure, so obviously Group A has the top 4 teams from the NAL. That means that worst case scenario, you get 4th here. You still have a spot in North American qualifier, but really those top 3 spots are what you're looking for. That's going to send you directly to the major. Auction and SSG, by winning their opening matchups, have already made sure they're going to be in the top 3. TSM DarkZero, the winner of this match, will be that last team in top 3. So this is a really important one. All right, we got to stress this so much. There's no more second chances to get that auto invite. TSM versus DarkZero, the winner of this will head to the major. So, I mean, they're going to be playing the best they can.
Valley Group B?
Group B, first off, I want to say you look fantastic as well, Jackie. You look like a model up there. Group B, these were the unfortunates, the bottom 4 teams in all of the U.S. division. And this matchup is going to be the most important. Why? Because between Temple Storm and E United, whichever team wins this game, they still have a fighting chance to be included into the qualifier. So, still, you're 0-1. You can fix that to be 2-1 if you win out, and that's the name of the game. But if you lose, you have no chance at all to make it to the NA major next month.
Low key, I'm a little excited about the matchup later because there is so much pressure to not be last. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't want that title. So you know they're going to be fighting extra hard. But again, I'm super excited about our matchup that's about to happen. So let's get to it and start chatting about it. Jesse, I'm going to put you in the hot seat first, okay?
Sure.
We're going to talk about TSM. This team has just been out of sorts. We hate to see it, but many of their star players, they've just been off. We just haven't been seeing the typical performances from them that we usually do. DZ beat them in 2 last week. Jesse, what changes do they need to make to be successful today to clinch that major spot?
I mean, I think the obvious one that people are going to keep bringing up and that we've talked about a lot here is Merc's not been the hottest so far for TSM. You know, obviously his entry stats aren't great. He's -12, it's the worst in the league. But to me, more of that seems like he's just out of position a lot of the times, maybe being caught off guard rather than just losing straight up gunfights. So you could also talk about how that's more of a team issue, a coordination issue, a communication issue for him. For TSM, I think they can struggle sometimes when matches go long. You know, it seems like when they get to the 3rd map or when they get to the end of the 2nd map in a very long best of 3 that only went 2, they seem to fall apart there. You know, you see them taking gunfights they shouldn't, losing 1v1s, getting aggressive when it just doesn't make sense to. I think this kind of happened last time they played DarkZero, where it only went 2 maps, but the first map was a ridiculously long 15-round barn burner. And then, you know, map 2 happened, and it looked good at the start, but they kind of started to fall apart at the end. They only won 1 of the last 6 rounds in that matchup. So for me, TSM needs to either, you know, just take their G Fuel a bit later, or sharpen up and just get better rested to keep the fuel going, I guess, because they do seem to have a problem of slowing down.
I ultimately believe that TSM's biggest downfall right now is that they die early, often, and a lot of important operators are knocked off the map, such as Maestro. For TSM's success, to stay alive for longer than a minute. If nobody dies within that first minute, TSM, actually, they have a great chance to win out these rounds. And I feel like ultimately, that's really all they're missing out on. This team is wonderful. This team has been playing great. They're just missing that one thing, and that's to play within the first minute. And, well, 2 things. That, along with Merc really stepping it up.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a fabulous team, like both of you have said. And they got the wild card. Veli, Bolo.
When does Bolo play,
Bolo.
Jackie? Bolo, he plays right now. Okay, the thing about Bolo that cracks me up is that some of his best rounds, he runs around with IQ, and I'm not saying run around like is brainless fragging, right? He gets a lot of essential kills, and big ones at that. IQ doesn't have the toolkit to really help her team win out a round drastically with her special gadget. Yeah, she can see electronics and all, but she's different, you know? She's not like Ying, she's not like Zofia and whatnot. So the fact that Bolo is able to make such a big difference with that, not that much utility, just a GA, he makes it go burr and kills everybody. That's phenomenal. Yeah. But also, No, you know, I'm not going to say it. This team, they don't lean on individual play like that. They don't lean on Bolo to get these big kills to win. But Bolo is the X factor, and he's there to destroy your best player, which is Hyper. So I'm really excited for that matchup.
Yeah, and I want to say with Bolo bringing a lot of the IQ, the thing that they miss out on usually is the Zofia, which is weird because she's got such a great gun. Yeah. She's a big fragger, and her utility really does help out with this meta. But TSM's pretty continuously don't choose to bring the Zofia. They bring, as you said, Bolo on the IQ instead. Yeah. I think league-wide, Zofia's got something like a 78% pick rate. Before their last playday, DarkZero had an 11% pick rate of Zofia, so it's way down there. Bolo actually did use a lot of Zofia in the most recent matchup against Space Station, though, and he didn't rock IQ at all. So what I'm looking for this time is Bolo jumping off the IQ ship. Is he moving over to the Zofia like most players in the league are? Or, especially with Echo coming back in, are we going to see him move back over to where we've seen him for the early half of the season and playing a lot more IQ? That's something to watch out for, I think.
And I will add just this one last part. When it comes to defensive engagements, it's all Bolo. He has the most, especially on Valkyrie. Valkyrie alone, he has 12 engagements where he's 50-50. I'll take those numbers any day of the week if Bolo's getting behind her. So, yeah, he's a factor on both sides. He's deadly.
Okay, so TSM has Bolo, but Vel, you said it earlier, DarkZero has Hyper. And actually, I was really lucky. I got to chat with him last night. He's super excited about this matchup today. So let's check out the interview. Roll the tape. Hey everyone, it's Jackie Jing, and I'm with Hyper from DarkZero. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Jackie. Yeah.
It's been an interesting season for y'all. I think that a lot of people have expected you to be the front runners. Do you still believe that your team has what it takes to do that?
I genuinely believe nothing really has changed in our mindset. Even after yesterday, it was just a minor setback. If anything, we're going to be working harder, and I do think we are the best team in North America right now.
I mean, just real talk, Canadian throwing a little bit of shade at y'all, saying that y'all talk a big game but didn't turn up when you needed to. I mean, what was going through all your heads when you heard that?
SSG exposed a lot of the weaknesses we already knew we had going into the matchup. There's a lot of minor things we need to iron out. Roles, especially on defense. Our defenses are like probably one of the worst in the league. And I don't know, I feel like we're one of the best attacking teams in the league. So if we win like a little bit more defense rounds, then it just seems like teams don't have a chance.
You have been playing exceptionally well. So I really just want to pick your brain on like, what have you been doing? Let's just get in your brain a little bit here.
Yeah, in the off season, I personally wanted to push myself to like work way harder than I have ever before. I'm doing a lot more like individual practicing outside the game, studying my opponents, and I mean, when it comes to game time, I just do whatever it takes to help my team win the game.
Talk to me a little bit about your career. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. You're a professional esports player, you know?
I love what I do. It's just a blessing to do this every day and wake up and just get better with my teammates.
What are your team's goals now? I mean, like, are all eyes on getting that major spot, or what are you telling each other?
Yeah, major spot is very important to us, but placing the highest we possibly can this season. We have a TSM game coming up tomorrow. We beat them previously, but we're going to make sure we beat them even harder this time. And then whatever's in front of us is in front of us.
Everyone believes that you're capable of being number one, but for some reason, it just seems like you're always edged out just a little bit. How do you think y'all are going to come out on top this time?
What separates us from other teams is our work ethic. I genuinely believe that everyone here is trying to work the hardest and the smartest that they have ever before, and we're always doing that.
That was Hyper from DarkZero. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you, Jackie.
See ya.
See ya.
Aw, so fun chatting with Hyper. And while we were talking, he said, you know, they beat TSM in 2. They're ready to do it again. That was what he said verbatim. But Jesse, Monday, SSG unveiled a lot of DZ's weaknesses. Real talk.
Yeah, certainly. And I think Canadian said it best in the post-game interview with you, Jackie, that really, when they can get DarkZero out of their comfort zone, that's when DarkZero really do struggle, right? And I think that you can do that in a number of ways, particularly in their defensive setups, right? If you can ban an operator that they plan on using on defense, like Clash on Villa, if you can attack in a different way, such as roam clearing a little bit differently, if you're too aggressive, if you're not as aggressive as they maybe expect you to, they can start showing some some cracks, and you can really start to take advantage of that. But I don't want that to take away from the strength we've seen from DarkZero. I mean, they destroyed in Phase 1, and I think you can't just gloss over all of that to look at that one bad matchup. I think still on attack, they're one of the best, if not the best teams in the league. I think they work ridiculously well when they can get that man advantage. Hyper again and again and again. He's so consistent, which is what I really love about him at the highest level. Even in that matchup against Space Station where the team didn't perform well, Hyper still went positive. He was the only player on the team that went positive for them. So that's really impressive to me. And I think that, yes, they have some weaknesses, and that's been shown off now. But you still shouldn't just count this team out because they had, one bad matchup 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I certainly agree. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Belly,
No,
go ahead.
Jackie, you got it.
No, I was just going to say, that they're extremely coordinated. They're a well-tuned machine. Yes. But we hear this time and time again. We just heard Jesse say it. We've heard it from Canadian. Veli, you have said this so many times. When an opponent jars them, they struggle to adapt quickly. Am I wrong, Veli? I know that you've said this numerous times.
No, you're absolutely right, Jackie. And the thing is, you saw it on Villa within the first 2 rounds. They saw what Canadian was throwing at them, and whenever DarkZero, they're not going with their plan A or plan B, they funnel into places, and I really didn't like the way that they attacked. And attacking is their strongest point. And personally, I feel like they're the best team on attack. I don't care what the stats say, but it still probably admits that I'm right. They didn't look like DarkZero. Hyper wasn't getting loose. You didn't see anything from anybody, and that's really disappointing, especially considering the fact that you have the best individual player on your team. So DarkZero, they have to be better at thinking on their feet and adjusting to whatever teams throw at them on offense and defense. Attack and defense, excuse me.
We knew what you meant.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, y'all ready for some predictions? Whoa. I'm excited to hear what you two pick here. I don't want to be in your position. Who's winning this? DarkZero or TSM? You go first. Who am I pointing to?
You said you go first and just
you go first. I'm pointing at Jesse.
Okay,
I know,
he's pointing at me.
but I was just doing a weird hand thing. So Jesse, you go first.
Sure. I think that we spent a long time, on the desk today talking about the weaknesses of these teams, and that's because they both coming off of losses. That's how they got into this position. But don't forget, these are 2 of the best teams inside of North America. They're in the A group for a reason. They're going to show us a really great game, and this is going to be a really high-level match of Rainbow Six Siege. The end of the day, I expect history will repeat itself. I'm going to expect DarkZero to take this matchup again, but who knows? If TSM fixed some of their mistakes, they could easily walk away with the victory.
Okay, Jesse, DarkZero, Veli.
I love going against people and having a hot take, but I'm going to have to entirely agree with my man Jesse. DarkZero, they just looked so much better last time they played, and the fact that DarkZero allowed Hyper to run wild on them, I expect the same to happen, but even more different this time, because looking at their entry stats, even on attack, which is what they're best at, it's not Hyper I'm more worried about. It's going to be all about Skies. Skies, especially, is on Sledge. He has an 80% win rate in opening battles. I would take that any day of the week. This team is dominant, and I expect them to continue to try to rise back to the top.
Yeah, I feel like if DarkZero plays loose, they don't get in their own heads, they could be extremely successful today. So it looks like we're all on the DarkZero train today. Gentlemen. Toot. Come on, Jesse.
Toot.
Okay.
Hey! There we go! All right, well, let's get to it. DarkZero versus TSM. But really quickly, for all of you at home, please make sure you follow us on our social accounts. We got a Twitter. We got an Instagram. We also got a community poll result question for y'all. And we know why y'all are here. Kixon and Taro, they're coming up next, too. We'll be right back.
think the toughest team so far was probably DarkZero. The overall structure of the team and their utility usage is pretty scary. You don't really get into many gunfights with them, which kind of sucks, but I mean, they're a good team.
I'd say OXG was the harder team we played. They were definitely like the tougher team. They were a lot more coordinated. Their strats are better.
I didn't feel like either of the teams that we lost to particularly were better than the other one.
To be in the top 4 of the division, I mean, it doesn't really mean too much. We had higher expectations, coming into the season. Obviously, we're not performing to those expectations, but at the end of the day, it's for an online major.
It's something that we expected. Obviously, we've been going through a little rut right now. We've had a roster change. We've had some rule swap, had an IGL change.
I don't really care about being in the top 4. All I really care about is getting to like top 1, top 2.
A team that matches up great against us would be SSG, and every time we play them, it's been like a complete brawl.
I think the team that matches up best against TSM is DarkZero, SSG, the more structured teams.
Probably OXG.
I think the team chemistry matters a whole lot when it comes to playing the game professionally, because to a lot of us, it's not just showing up to work, showing up for a scrim and then getting off. We're all a bunch of boys hanging out playing the game. We just happen to be professionals. So
having like chemistry, like you'll probably have more trust in your teammates, and you'll trust them to do what they need to do, and they'll trust you to do what you need to do, which will go a long way.
I think we're looking forward to play DarkZero the most. We want our rematch, and we want to show everybody what we can do in that rematch.
The last time we lost to them, we beat ourselves, and that's not going to happen this time around.
I think we're feeling, pretty decent about going into phase 2. Wasn't really living to expectations, but we're so glad to be here.
Play the match, you win the match, or you play the match and you lose the match. Doesn't really change based on what phase it is.
It's pretty fun no matter what happens.
Right, well, you heard it there from TSM themselves about how, once again, they lost to their own expectations. Michael, that sounds exactly the same as what Space Station said when we saw their video from Monday. Are these teams trying to hide behind how good their opponents are and try to make themselves feel a little bit better by saying, we lost to ourselves, rather than admit that your opponent dusted you?
Yeah, maybe. That sounds reasonable. Plausible, in fact. I mean, there's definitely a lot going into these matches. There's a lot of weight involved here. And it has to be demoralizing when you take a loss. There is also something to be said about the thought process behind we lost to ourselves. What those guys are trying to say is we're in our own heads. We're not playing the game we know we can play. And I understand that also, because, sometimes you're going to have rounds where you make a mistake and you look at that mistake and you're like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. And then you're like, yeah, I lost to myself. I played myself. So, there's definitely a lot of facets to this. It's a very complicated equation. Ultimately, though, this day, today, right now, and this matchup incoming, this is the moment here for both of these teams, because we talked about the inconsistencies for both TSM and DZ through these last few play days, and this is where it all comes to. This is where they either make it or break it.
So before we get into the actual goods and before we get into the map veto, as we always do, we will pose a question to you through social media. So down below in my little box, you're going to see, there it is, right there on your screen. R6 Esports NA on Twitter is the portal if you want to get up to date with what's going on in the North American League. That includes both Canada and, of course, the US divisions. Now, today's question is, which team will have the higher headshot percentage? No Reed the body shot machine Adams in this match, Michael. So we're going to see who can snap onto the heads more reliably. Go cast your vote as to whether or not you think it's going to be DZ or TSM. You have any early predictions, Michael, as to which team you think is going to take it?
Between the two, not necessarily. I mean, let me take a look. I'll look at their. By the way, just a clarification, it is which team will have a player that has a higher headshot percentage, not which team has an average. It's who will have the guy who gets the highest, just so it's clear.
Just to specify.
Yeah, just to specify. Through the season so far, DZ has Skies at the highest with 57%, for some stats for you guys, and TSM has Merc at the highest with 52%. So just so you guys have some frame of reference to cast your vote.
So we'll bring up the map veto system for you. The last time these two teams played each other, it was Villa, Theme Park, and Oregon, but Oregon wasn't needed. In keeping with some of the themes that we've seen recently, the maps were very definitive. It was a 2-0 in favor of DarkZero as they took both Villa and Theme Park, though Villa was pretty close. And if you remember correctly, this was one of TSM's best maps for a long period of time, stretching all the way back to the Invitational. So about half a year, give or take, of Villa being a great stomping ground for them. So we'll bring it up, though, and the very first map we're going to go to is Coastline, and neither of these teams have played the map just yet.
Okay, so something new for both of these squads, and I love to see that. It means we get a little bit of variety. It also means the only information these teams will have on each other that's like relevant, you know, the stuff that's happened recently, is things they've heard through the Scrim grapevine, and we don't know what that is, and it's probably not as definitive as these teams would like it to be. So we end up getting a little bit more of a not disjointed, but kind of not a concrete understanding for both squads, and thus more variety in our strategy, more reliance on self for both teams. And I find that personally very interesting. Final map is going to be Cafe. So Coastline, Oregon, Cafe. There's our order. We've got it sorted out. Of course, Coastline being DarkZero's, TSM will take Oregon, and then looks like they'll be choosing to start on different sides. It's kind of interesting. TSM wants to attack on Coastline. DZ wants to defend on Oregon.
Yeah, so the lineup is going to be DZ starting on defense for the first two maps, and then they'll swap sides if we need a third map. Now, Oregon has actually been one of the most played maps for both of these teams, and in fact, all of the teams in Group A have cycled through Oregon an awful lot. The stats so far, before we get into it, show that neither TSM nor DarkZero have lost this map yet, so that trend line will inevitably break. There is no draw system in North America. It could be potentially for that third major spot. You snap the streak, you have to fight it out with, you know, two other US division teams, one Canada division team, and then to see who gets that major spot. But we'll see before we get to Oregon and then Cafe. The only time we saw it was DZ versus SSG on Monday, in which SSG won 7-5, despite the fact that I think there was a pretty good fight that was put up by DarkZero towards the tail end of that map. Let's waste no time. Coastline is ready. We're going to get into the game, and we're going to see what this map brings us between two frag-heavy teams. Is it going to be an all-out brawl like we're used to seeing on Coastline, or will there be maybe some more strategic elements at play? We'll start with the operator ban phase to kick off our first match of the day.
One little tidbit that I wanted to throw out there is that DZ decided to defend on Oregon first, and while DZ's defense rate is abysmal, like their defense win percentage is 43%, if you zoom into Oregon, they've got a 66% win rate on defense there, so that makes sense. It's kind of just an interesting little tidbit. They're comfortable there, as many teams are on the defensive side. Ban phase is rapid fire here for this map. It's going to be Hibana Ying as your two first bans. Wamai banned out by TSM. That's quite interesting. A little bit different. We do see him banned occasionally, although he is not an extremely prominent ban. On the defense, let's see. He's got a 14% ban rate before today in the US division. So there you go. Echo is no longer soft banned. So he will be, well, just banned. For the final defensive ban. So we get TSM getting rid of Wamai, and then Echo will be taken out by DZ.
This Ying ban also came out on Monday. If you recall, in the SSG DZ matchup, as Ying is one of those operators that DZ likes to put into their lineup. And if there's a team in North America that's going to bring in operators that aren't exactly in vogue, it will be DarkZero. Think about operators way back in the day when Nomad wasn't played. Think back in the day when Nomad wasn't played all that much. You think about Montaigne, and how they like to bring Montaigne in. They bring in a Blitz from time to time. Ying is also in that strategy. So it's one of the operators that I think is going to be quite crucial, and it was a ban from Space Station against DZ. So TSM obviously learning from that, and Ying is in a particularly strong place. She also works really well to bust open that bunker defense that you can see teams establish with Wamai and Jaeger, but in this case, Wamai is banned. So the Echo soft ban is going to be something that we're going to keep our eyes on, because now that it has stopped, there is likely to be a surge in Echo bans, which means that the defender ban diversity that we've seen will probably be coming to an end, if not has already ended at this point.
Yeah, and that's, play a sad song, RIP. One thing that is interesting, though, at least, this, I believe, is what, the second or third time this map's been played? Oh, hang on, run out going on here. Hot and cold, trying to get a little aggressive, and seems like DZ are not going to get anything from that, nor will TSM. But yeah, taking a look at the stats, this will be, I believe, the third time. So Not a lot of Coastline play. This is actually the least played map in the US division. So at least some kind of variety, even if not in the defensive operator bans.
Would have liked to have seen some fireworks there between these teams.
Yeah.
But no, nothing comes of it.
I like that there's a slight extension here from DZ, but nothing too committed. You know, you can get cut off pretty easily by the skylight. You got to be careful of that. But it's still applying some pressure to the cool vibe staircase could be useful.
First kill is going to go to Hot and Cold as he takes Merc out, and DZ is actually all running my charm. I saw the social media earlier. I didn't think they were being serious, but it sure seems like it is. So thanks, lads. I really appreciate that one. Merc has had a bit of a rough go in terms of stats recently. Announced that on Twitter that he was taking a bit of a break, and well, he's going to take a break from this round as well.
And you could scoop that charm up nice and easy peasy if you go ahead and switch over to Parker's channel. Give that one a good old sub there. Link those accounts. You can be cool like the rest of DZ. Bolo's going to get 2 kills on the entry. He's been showing up big for his team as of late, and he's going to continue to do so. He's got control of the bathroom, and he'll get rid of one of the cameras. Now, this is a good platform for an execution into the Sunrise Bar. He's still wary of the presence inside of security. Chala's going to try and help him out from the main lobby. He'll use those nomad air jabs on the security doorway, and Eclipse might be there, but he's not going to be able to accomplish much from that position.
Attackers have located a bomb.
So, still an advantage now for, or rather an advantage now for TSM as it came in quite quickly, and there's only a minute left for them to go. They've got the pressure upstairs that they really want. Chief is sitting on that sledge position. There goes a firebolt, and Mint's gonna have to fight his way out while evading the flames, gunned down from 2 separate angles. Then there's fire doing some damage as well. He'll finish it off. And, well, TSM just within 3 seconds, all over the map. They crush DarkZero in round number 1, and the attackers will go up.
I think that was a 4K from Bolo. We'll see when we get the scoreboard up because, of course, you know, there's only been 1 round, so it's pretty easy to tell the difference. Well played to Bolo for that. Really, it's all on his shoulders. He managed to get that entry over by the kitchen, and he turned that into a round 1 for his team. And that's despite the early pick on to Merc, thanks to Hot and Cold's efforts running out of the window. Now, we talked about how DZ as a team are really struggling this season on defense. They've been struggling real hard. And what map could be worse when you're having a bad time on defense than Coastline? That's the first thing that pops into my head when I got Coastline on the docket for DarkZero. They really don't know how to deal with these kind of explosive gunfights that are coming out from TSM. I mean, that last round was what, really? It was Bolo taking kitchen fights, turning that into site fights, and winning every single one of them. And if you're struggling with that as a squad, again, you know, there's things that can be done to fix that, of course. Consolidating your forces, picking operators with guns you feel like are going to be capable of winning gunfights with. And I don't know, not going to Coastline. That's not an option anymore, I guess, for DZ. But here we are.
So it's, instead of a double bar setup, it'll be over towards kitchen, and we look like we saw an Evil Eye Cam get put in the main lobby. Sorry, DarkZero, that the charm magic didn't quite pay off, but that's okay. Hopefully next time.
Oh no. Is it?
Skies is playing off-site. He's going to have that 1 Evil Eye able to give him sight into courtyard. If you're playing in security, you really only need to be worried about 2 areas of attack, as most teams won't go after the window that's inside of security. And in fact, you'd be surprised how many people aren't even aware that there is a window in there to begin with. So
which window?
People seem to forget that exists.
Oh, the security window.
It definitely is there, and you can play off of it if required. And well, down below, Hyper is now swapped out with Skies, and we'll head over to Office as Chala on top of the rappel, waiting for somebody to push. He'll drone himself in. Seems like he spotted Skies with Bolo as well on drone work as they look for a coordinated effort. Bolo was susceptible to getting pushed from luggage as he's on drone inside of that exact spot. Skies could have been able to do something with it, but he gets spotted by Chala and he had to fall off.
Nothing too eventful going so far. T4 from below is going to be a big factor here. If DZ can get 1 or 2 picks with these C4s, then they could just, off of that, win the round alone. I think there's going to be a strong reliance on those, not only early picks for DZ, but also just out of engagement picks for DZ in terms of winning defensive rounds. I think you're going to have to look to that if you're a DarkZero fan to just see true success here right now. Vertical pressure coming out from the sledge. Easy to open up above bathroom for him. Now he's got to be wary about those C4s. Clips is waiting for his moment. There is a little bit of a bottleneck here, so this is a really easy C4 toss for Eclipse.
He's going to wait very patiently. There hasn't been any real engagement that's been done just yet. There goes some of the ceiling, and with it, the Eclipse will toss out the Nitro Cell onto the bed, but nothing. Nothing at all. A second one follows up. It'll connect onto Achieved and give DarkZero that opening pick. Hot and Cold has gotten both of them for his team so far. Now, instead, playing just by the doorway towards service is the pump action of none other than Eclipse, and he'll wait to see if somebody wanders into his line of sight. Down goes Bolo to Skies, a 3v5 with 30 seconds left, and TSM and managed to dig themselves out of an almost bad position in this previous altercation, but no. No way. There goes the toxic canister towards the doorway of Kitchen. The coverage from Mint will at least stop the push in for about a second. Chala breathes in a little bit of that toxic canister. Manages to outduel Chala, who's looking to the left but needed to be looking to the right. Geometrics is the only kill so far for TSM. He goes down as the diffuser's going down, and well, there goes Merc too. It happens right as the objective goes off, so they still need to take care of the diffuser on DarkZero's side, but there's 4 of them alive. They'll have no problem doing that. DZ takes round number 2.
Well, that collapse onto the window was pretty one-sided, but I mean, it wasn't the reason, of course, that DarkZero managed to win that round. The C4 landing started off the pace well for DarkZero. The gunfights happening around the bomb site, going the way of DarkZero, just compounded the problem for TSM. You could see they were trying to isolate the kitchen window, trying to go for that plant. Didn't work out in the end. The gas canisters, the evil eyes, the spray, really nothing that TSM was going to be able to do there. Unfortunate timing for Merc, too. He came off the angle inside a kitchen trying to pivot and hold both of the potential engagements, but, you know, 1 man, 2 jobs, not going to happen. So, the DarkZero finally will take a round. Only 2 in. Pretty good. Solid. It was the defense of Kitchen that managed to work out for them in the end, and I think that that's a pretty solid defense. I'm worried about their billiards hold, though. We saw that, I think it was the double bar. That didn't work out very well, and I don't know, this west side of the building seemed like it was pretty easily collapsed upon from TSM last time. Most of it comes down to, in my head right now, is it's coming down to that top floor presence and how capable DZ is going to be able to hold, or going to be of holding, rather, billiards.
5 seconds to insertion.
All right, well, third setup now for DarkZero, and they're really favoring a similar lineup to what they had before, though swapping out on these roles. The one major change is going to be the Warden, and our favorite mustachioed operator doesn't really see a ton of play, but on this particular bomb site, he can be quite effective, especially if you're playing him upstairs inside of that pink bar area. We'll quarrel over what to call that, but regardless of what you and I refer to it as, it's a very powerful position for him to play off of. First, if he's got the shotgun, he can play that angle very tight, especially towards the bomb chassis, and he's usually going to be rocking the SMG-12 as his secondary. We can see from the loadout on your screen, though, that it's the MPX in hand. So my best guess is Hyper's probably not going to be in that tight an angle as you would expect the Warden to play off of. What a beautiful shot from Mint. Good God, good night achieved. And that's the opening pick again for DarkZero. Looking for another, but just tapping away. Mint's unable to hit the shot onto Merc on a different angle, and the Ash will immediately answer back. 1 minute has expired, and a second kill for Merc now onto the board as its Eclipse gone from DarkZero. So DZ finding themselves in a 4v3. Still roughly the same amount of time left, given the fact that there was 3 kills in the span of 10 seconds.
Well, Merc will land his shots, and those are impactful frags there for TSM. That downstairs clear effectively accomplished by 1 person. Now, the 3 remaining DZ players have to hold out on the site with limited utility to boot. They've got 1 C4, 3 gas canisters, and some evil eyes, so it's not all lost. Actually, really all they lost was that 1 C4 from Eclipse, to be fair. But still, a loss is a loss. The gun not there. Still, though, it's patience from TSM. They're not jumping the gun. Here comes Merc, though, up the blue stairs. Misplaced firebolts make Merc's life a living death, I guess, as he falls to Geo, attempting to run through his teammate's fire.
That's not good. That's not a good spot to find yourself in, as I think most of the damage that was done to Merc was at the hands of Geo. That's just poor coordination, and I mean, TSM will need to be a little bit sharper than that if they want to keep pace with DarkZero for the remainder of this round, because the advantage they have essentially just went up in smoke, if I can employ that pun. So now you hang on if you're DarkZero, being gifted a freebie essentially onto Merc, who is the only person on the board for this round. 30 seconds left, and here comes the execute, as it's a fight between Bolo and Skies, or Hot and Cold rather, and Hot and Cold wins that one out. There's Hyper for 2 big kills at the very end, like clockwork. DarkZero will take their second round and the third round overall.
Well. Nicely done from DarkZero. That holdout upstairs working very well. I mostly attribute that to the misplay of Geo placing his firebolts on blue stairs when Merc is trying to ascend them. Now, that's one of two things. It's either Geo not paying attention to comms or Merc not making comms. So we don't know which that is, of course, but there's some miscommunication there that ultimately eliminated an avenue for the attack. TSM's trying to flank pinch onto Vase and Hookah. They've got the bolts and Merc on blue to facilitate that. It is likely to be successful given the abundance of utility available. And this is why TSM banned Wamai, by the way, just so they could bring that Capitao and pull out really precise attack strategies. But then when the precision is poor from those Capitao bolts and the timing is poor from the Ashe, things don't work out so well. So after that avenue from the attack was eliminated, I think that TSM really fell apart. DZ just needed to just hold on one particular angle. It's like, oh yeah, it's the bottleneck on the hookah balcony door or the aqua door or what have you. It's just one bottleneck after another, and it's really easy for DZ to hold those.
I wonder if the play from Merc, by the way, was just something that he called on the fly and said, oh, I'm gonna sprint on up, and then realized that there was somebody from DarkZero that was watching that angle, A, inside of Billiards, and then B, was also holding that angle at the top of the stairs. I'm not sure. This is where to be on a fly on the wall in whatever voice comm server they're using would be fascinating, just to try and get a better sense of why that unfolded, because that seems like a very easy mistake to not make. And yet it got made by one of the best teams in the world in front of our very eyes. So it happens. But why is the question I want an answer to.
Yeah.
Why?
¿Por qué? So, Sunrise roam here. Well, actually, no, Sunrise defense here. Pardon me. It's the double bar again from DZ. They really haven't been able to make this one work, but they're trying it again. I mean, you gotta, right? If you take your two main sites and you're not sure where to go next, double bar. I mean, what are the other options, right? Penthouse? No. No.
I mean, I guess you could.
No. Parker. Oh, he messed that up.
Yeah, well, you can't take him back. A lot of people will be surprised to realize that once an air jab's out, it's out, which, you know.
Oh, is he gonna peek that? Oh. It almost worked.
So close. Hey, why can't you put air jabs back in, but Ella can throw her Gizmots after the sticky foam comes out? Like, it doesn't make any sense. You ever thought about that?
Yeah, because they use, like, the same technology, basically.
Yeah, it's like, why can Ella do that? Anyway, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later if there's any downtime, if there are any rehosts, so we'll see. But anyway, DarkZero still playing inside of Sunrise. They are entrenched, if you want to call it that. Eclipse calling inside of security, hasn't been pressured just yet, though Merc is within sprinting distance as Ashe inside of main lobby. I think he's holding that angle onto security door, and if Eclipse can't see it, then, well, he's dead. And I think Eclipse with gun out is aware of that, and Merc will fire a bit too early, and it scares off Eclipse, who is away back toward the bomb site that goes through Blue Bar. Problem is that it's easy to hold Blue Bar from inside a kitchen. TSM wins the first opening duel of this map, and down goes Eclipse as Merc was hot on the case of the sledge. Damage done through the wall of Hot and Cold, is able to down Bolo as we see the Capitao lying prone of Geo, watching for coverage. Meanwhile, there goes your Mira of Chala, baiting out Mint's play, and another for Chala. Great shot on the skies. He's making this look easy inside a kitchen. Things collapsing for DarkZero, and if all goes according to plan, it should be a tie game. Frag Grenade catches hot and cold on the leap up, and Hyper, with the Scorpion in hand, is going to have to barge on into the bomb site and take down the attackers. A nice shot from one onto Merc, but he's got a lot more to go, as the real story right now is what's going on with BattlEye. They're more dominant than either TSM or DarkZero, as everybody says goodnight to all of the people in game. TSM takes the round.
And good riddance. Bye-bye. Have a terrible time. Anyway, great execution there from TSM. I love their use of utility. The smoke from the Capitao, well placed again. I'm actually really, I gotta say, I'm really liking the Capitao play coupled with the Wamai ban. For those of you who don't know, Wamai magnets will catch Capitao bolts, and they will force them to be where the attack doesn't want them. But Jaeger ADSs will not. So if you ban Wamai, Capitao has free reign. He can place 2 smokes and 2 firebolts wherever he wants. So that's a very powerful tool for TSM to have at their disposal. Now, we don't always see this kind of strategy employed because it takes a lot of practice, a lot of planning. However, when planned for correctly, as we are seeing quite clearly, TSM have planned for this correctly, it can be a very powerful tool. And we saw that highlighted, I think, in the last round. The firebolts made playing by the Sunrise Bar very difficult. The smokes made playing by the Sunrise Bar effectively useless because you can't see anything. And then the nades under cover of smoke, managing to finally kill the player by Sunrise Bar. That's not an easy thing to do. It's hard to dislodge a defender from Sunrise Bar if you haven't taken top floor. TSM managed it. Great job to them. Execution came shortly after. Plant started up, and at that point, TSM had already won so many of their fights that there was little to no chance for Hyper to clutch. Great execution.
I really like Merc's play inside a lobby, whether he droned out the pulse or not. That wasn't something that we got to see right away. It wasn't something that we had any kind of information on, proper information to be able to make a decisive call as to Merc's positioning, but it was abundantly clear that TSM knew Eclipse was inside of security, and by isolating the pulse, well, you put the pulse in a position where he's really ineffective. I mean, that cardiac sensor is only 9 meters of range. It's not really that much given the way that Coastline shapes out in terms of attack, and you could see that most of TSM was very far removed. That left Eclipse on the other side of the map with the only way of getting back to his teammates being a pure fist fight. He just had to win his gunfight on the way out. Obviously, a UMP is not going to work out so well against most weapons, and especially the R4C when Merc is hitting his shots. So Merc had him locked down, caught him on the rotate, managed to get the pulse either inside of security or before the pulse got in fully into blue bar, and that really opened things up. And then the control from Mudroom was also absolutely huge. Merc is just in sight, and 2 are down, looking for a third. He'll grab it. Diffuser going off by Geo. This is perfect from TSM. Merc with a 4th. He's redeeming himself. He knows it's him versus Hyper in the 1v1. This is going to be crazy. And there it is. Give him the ace. Merc. He comes alive when you need him. How's that for a redemption story? TSM takes the round.
Beautiful job there to Merc. Wonderful execution. Walking into the site. Well, I guess I should say shimmying, proning into the site, slow as it goes. And this is what we talked about. We have had discussion at length about DZ's inability to just hold up the basic angle sometimes, and how that can cost them big rounds. Who's holding kitchen door? Where's the information on kitchen door? Barbed wire on kitchen door? Anything. Stop the push in through kitchen door. They needed some kind of information tool. DZ was completely unaware. Merc's like, oh, I could just go. And he prones in, stands up, and then picks up a 3-piece. At that point, the ace was almost a foregone conclusion. Well done to Merc for seizing upon the opportunity, but serious critique to DZ for presenting such an obviously juicy opportunity to Merc in the first place.
It's one of those superhuman plays that, you know, he's more than capable of making, and in fact, most of the people in this lobby are actually capable of doing that. I don't think there's a single person that couldn't see of these 10 gentlemen that wouldn't be able to pull off something similar. I am really amazed with the way that Merc was just, as you said, shimmy his way in. But the negligence from DZ. Where was the breakdown in communication there that prevented DarkZero from watching the kitchen doorway? You're not watching the main doorway of the bomb site? That is a huge oversight, and maybe somebody on DarkZero was tasked with watching it and they had very quickly moved and Merc just took full advantage of that. But from our perspective, riding along with Merc, it sure seemed like DarkZero just overlooked one of the two ways, or one of the three ways, I suppose, into the actual bomb site, and that is a massive no-no. And for a team like DZ, you can't be making those mistakes. Just as Geo with the firebolt killed Merc earlier, neither of these teams can be making those mistakes. They should be better than that. They should be above it. It does happen from time to time. We've already seen two massive errors that have cost entire rounds, and we're only 5 rounds in, technically in the 6th.
You know, Parker, we've heard a lot of comms from DZ before where they'll post like a big round win that they managed to get, but I want to hear what happened in that round, because not only did they not hold the kitchen door, but none of the other players in the site reacted in time with Merc's push. I want to know if that was a breakdown of comms or if it was just poor reactions. I'm not sure which, but I'm really curious. Now, sorry, point I guess made. We're halfway through the 6th round here. Math's hard. And we've seen a couple scuffles, but nothing too crazy yet. No casualties from either team, of course. Just some stuns, explosives being used from TSM down below. They're trying to push players off of Hookah. It looks like they want to execute Hookah late. They'll have to deal with Eclipse on blue stairs. That's not going to be easy to do. And there's 3 players for DZ stacked up there. 4 even, if you count Skies, who can smoke and even hold the Hookah door from his position.
It's the same spot that Bolo had played in when he was on Thatcher before, and Skies was down below. Mind you, totally different bomb site, as it was a kitchen defense by DZ, but Bolo obviously liking that luggage hold, and whether he's going to get droned in at the top of white stairs or not will, of course, give away Mint's position. A beautifully tossed grenade by Achieved after you clear out the ADSs, and Hyper is dead meat, and TSM just absolutely capitalizing off of these losses to DZ's body count. It's a 2v5 for DarkZero. They'll take 1 down with them. There goes Bolo, but their Sky's gone as well. It's Mint on the return to the bomb site, but it's held masterfully by Chala, and that's the first half in the books. TSM, they put up a very impressive late run in this half. They take 3 rounds in a row and set themselves up with a lead as they swap sides.
I gotta say, this is looking like a struggle house on defense for DZ. I expect them to play way, way better on attack. But you couple 2 different things. 1, DarkZero's poor defensive win rate of 43%, and 2, Coastline being a relatively hard to defend map with, I guess, the Capitao, who is going to completely debilitate even solid defenses on this map. And you've got a really bad formula for defense. Now, here's the trick to that whole equation, right? Here's the real problem for DarkZero. We saw the 1 ban with the Capitao. Great, it's a big tool. Okay, everybody gets that now. But is DarkZero going to have the same capacity with Capitao as TSM did on their attacking side? Because TSM clearly practiced their Capitao plays. They also happened to have a really, really bad round where they killed Merc with their Capitao, so we're just going to forget about that one. But apart from that, their placement of the bolts were pretty precise, right? They were integral to the outcome of many of those rounds. Will DarkZero be as proficient is now the big question looming over DZ, as if they can't make that Capitao work for them as well as TSM did, they might struggle a little bit to take these attacks. It's obviously not the end-all be-all, but it's a factor.
No, Factor plays in Challenger League.
Oh my gosh. I knew you were, you know what? I knew you were going to say it too. I said Factor and I was like, no, please. In my brain, no, please. And he did it. He did it anyway.
It's a long-running joke. I have to get my kicks in. When I have a chance. Anyway. calm before the storm. Swap sides, see what TSM, if they're able to recreate this attack magic on a good attacking map. I mean, let's not overlook the fact that it is Coastline. Let's not overlook the fact that TSM has tons of fragging potential. Let's also not overlook the fact that on defense, DarkZero has been a pretty poor team statistically.
Whoa.
Right now, their attack is not getting any better. Is that a double kill for Bolo? He removes Skies and Hyper as we remove dozens of cheaters from the game. And that will be the kill feed coming to us from the future when inevitably it stops. There we go, it stopped.
Bolo, okay, so let me just express something here. Bolo winning those gunfights is pretty crazy, but he's going to lose one later, and there's a double bounce back for DZ as they also get Merc, so 2 for 1. Chala does get Hotton, though, so it's just Eclipse and Mint left on the attack. Very winnable, though, because of those 2 kills gained earlier. Bolo and Merc have been the players popping off for TSM, so now it's all on Chief, Chalo, and Geo, who really haven't had their moment to shine. I guess this is it. Same thing for Eclipse and Mint, though, so we'll see who pops off here. Anyway, as I was trying to... narrow opportunity, or sorry, narrow missing out on an opportunity there for Mint. That's really unfortunate. Geo will get away scathed, but still alive. The action is never ceasing for this match so far. I can't even remember what original point I was trying to make.
I think you were talking about Factor.
No,
Anyway,
I'll figure it out.
Let's set our sights in the final 30 seconds, Michael, as TSM, after the play of Bolo to start things off, is in great shape, and now they can begin to apply some punishment to the 2 last remaining members of DarkZero. As TSM's hold is down below, there goes Eclipse on the stairs, and Mint is also done for. 4 rounds in a row from TSM. They have a commanding lead, 5-2, and they take their very first defense.
Big round there for TSM and Bolo in particular. I remember what my point was. First of all, I just want to clarify for those of you who don't know, the person popping up on your screen when TSM's taking those rounds, that just now was achieved. So if you didn't know, now you do. The point I was trying to make was the fights that Bolo just won. Now, we didn't actually get to see it on cam. We did get to see it in the overhead. But the thing that is so important about that is he is challenging a long, very long angle fight, one of the longest you're going to get on Coastline, with an MPX against likely 2 ACOGs. Now, no guarantee that they were, but 2 different ACOGs on 2 different angles. And he's doing so with the MPX, which is a pea shooter. It's got a high rate of fire, but you really have to land those headshots. So he's landing headshots on moving targets in the span of a second. You know, he gets 2. That was a really impressive fight 1. And it's especially impressive because it's such a common angle for a defender to be playing. He wasn't playing at the top of white stairs with a punch hole or a bullet hole. He wasn't playing in the hallway looking through the pixel angle. He was in projector taking fights like a madman, and he just won those fights. He shouldn't have won those fights. That's the point I was trying to make. He just shouldn't have.
Well, there have been mistakes made by both teams. We talked about this at length. You know, we also have to talk about the fact that DarkZero only had 2 days to prep for this match, and you have to prep for an opponent that you haven't played in quite some time. So your turnaround needs to be really good. And while you're a team like DarkZero that is quite methodical, which is a term that I believe was used on Monday, thank you, Jackie Jing, it still takes a long period of time for you to be able to come up with new strats. And I mean, you looked at the 2 maps that were played when they last quarreled, and neither of them are in use. They decided to go for an entirely different map pool, which means that you're going to need something different. And Coastline and Cafe are largely question marks. There was only 1 matchup on Cafe played, and it was by TSM, or it was by DZ against SSG on Monday. So if you're TSM, you're in a great spot because you have a VOD on Cafe, which is the tiebreaker. On Coastline, you've had a period of time to just kind of sit back. You haven't played since the previous week. TSM, I think, in better shape than DZ coming into this match. And obviously, I think it's shown this is DZ's map, and that's where I think things get a little bit hairy, because DarkZero needed a strong start. They were able to kind of bully TSM the last time these 2 teams fought, and now it's TSM doing the bullying. TSM has looked in full control since the tail end of round number 3, transitioning into round number 4. And right now, there's really no signs of it slowing down.
I am puzzled by the fact that this is DZ's map. I'll be honest with you. It just seems so counterintuitive based on what we've seen from DarkZero through the season. I imagine that they probably had some kind of understanding internally that they were more proficient on Coastline than people might have thought they were. That they had practiced this map at length and they were prepared to do well on it and such. But it hasn't shown yet. It really hasn't. And TSM have looked really strong here. They've looked like they planned this whole thing, and that's rough if it's on your map that you're getting beaten like this.
There's Bolo just doing Bolo things again. Opening pick for TSM, but we're almost down to the wire. It is much later in the round than we're used to expecting, as Hot and Cold will not be a participant for the remainder of round number 8. That leaves things in favor of TSM. And it looks right now like there's great patience. Smoke Execute coming out. Will you pull the trigger? A lost gunfight from Bolo as Merc gets in on the fun, but then DZ answers back very swiftly. Eclipse is down, so you're going to have to sprint on into the bomb site if your Sky's in Hyper. You're running out of time. 20 seconds to go. TSM is not giving an inch. If they can get Eclipse back up, DZ will find themselves an excellent spot. But just like that, down goes Geo to a shot from Hyper, and Chala will need to clutch out as the diffuser goes for a plant. There's some pings. A kill from Chala. He's got the shotgun out, and it's a huge clutch. Just Chala things. TSM on match point.
Big clutch there from Chala, and a huge miscommunication on the DZ side. They must have known about that rotation and the versatility it afforded in the angles for Chala. There's no way that planting there is the right decision. They had enough time to get to the safe spot, but there was no full commit from DZ. And in that 2v2, I thought it was lost when Geo gave his life away by peeking on too aggressive an angle. But boy howdy, did Chala clutch it up. Big stuff from him. TSM map point. We are possibly 3 minutes away from going to map number 2. And this has been one of the fastest maps we've seen so far through this season.
Yeah, this one has been a blistering pace, and it might be over before it even started. You're going to need an awful lot of, here comes our favorite phrase, mental fortitude in order to overcome that one. That was a shotgun blast to the chest of hope and momentum. And obviously TSM have just beaten the daylights out of DZ so far. I'm frankly impressed with TSM, but more than anything, I have to wonder what's going on with DarkZero.
Yeah.
Because the DarkZero that showed up at the start of the US division looked almost indomitable. They looked like they had learned from the mistakes that they had made against SSG and TSM and in the previous season of Pro League before it ended. It looked like the number 3 team in North America had awoken, and we were going to see a new phase of DarkZero where, after allowing this roster to settle, long as it has, that DZ would start to pick it up and we would see a fight for that first overall spot. While then resume SSG Reign of Terror on Monday when they just crushed DarkZero. And now it looks like DZ seems to be in the same state of affairs that they were on Monday, especially if this map ends up being over as quickly as it looks like it may be. If TSM wins DZ's map 7-2, what does that say for Oregon and what does that say for DarkZero?
Well, I would not bode well. We've seen a lot of wild inconsistencies in North America, and that would be one of them for DZ. In this round, though, achieved on the main lobby staircase, taken down by Sky. So, early pick for DZ. That's huge favor. We might not see the 7-2 just yet. We might have to go to 7-3, 7-4, even maybe OT all the way. We'll see how much DZ can rack up, but at least for this round, it's looking good. They got a lot of time. They got some good control. They got that early pick.
Gives them wind in the sails of DarkZero, and it's been unachieved too. The bad news is if you're TSM, there goes a Nitro cell, but the good news is that you've still got those Valkyrie cameras posted up. Given that it is a hookah defense, a C4 is particularly helpful if you see a post plan or if you're playing from a longer angle. There's some fighting going on over the Jaeger of Merc, who's trapped in the corner, and that's a crossfire from both across the room and below, and you can say good night to Merc. DarkZero finds their second pick in the round.
We can even call that the tri-fire there, Parkers. They were pressuring from the balcony as well. Speaking of the balcony, another different one. It's Eclipse to get the kill onto Geo, who had been downed by Eclipse. Jala and Bolo now in a 2v5. It's looking a whole lot like a 6-3. Good job to DZ. Those early picks just kept spiraling out of control. Love their ability to collapse. You can see Skies' thoroughness. He's going to hold onto the site, and that's the right place to pre-fire there. It'll be a cleanup for DZ. Nice and easy. They get this one a little bit closer to even.
Easy DZ lemon squeezy, Michael.
Easy DZ. I love it.
Easy DZ lemon squeezy. There you go. Skies in particular, his entry downstairs. He gets droned in, gets the early leadoff pick, and then DZ hits the pause button. And one of the things that we can look at on a team like DarkZero that they excel at is how well they drone, and in particular, how good their comms are. Now, a big part of this is because DarkZero likes to release those videos about their comms, which obviously gives us a better perspective into how they communicate than other teams who are usually, much more guarded and secretive of how they talk. But DZ has some of the cleanest comms I have heard in Rainbow Six ever, and that obviously shows when they're able to set themselves up and pull off and execute. Skies gets droned in, he gets the opening pick downstairs. He gets droned in just a little bit more, but then he goes to work on his own, and he capitalizes off of the fact that TSM didn't have somebody else to go downstairs and antagonize him. Skies was able to basically roam free on that first floor, and because he did that as Buck, an operator that we don't see anywhere near as much of as we used to, largely because Buck lost his frag grenades, the fact that Skies was able to stay downstairs, he could take out the floor from underneath TSM, he could harass under the bomb site, and you know that there's relatively common spots that those defenders are going to sit in. Skies is a veteran player, he knows that. The team that was droning him in above, as you can see, 2 members of DZ spent quite a long period of time on drone, allowed Skies down below to pick up a second kill, which was onto Merc, and then as Skies pivoted upstairs, he got the very final frag. That was DarkZero working as a unit. Skies was credited for all 3 of those kills, and don't get me wrong, he did an excellent job of it, but without the support of somebody like Hot and Cold, without the support of somebody like Mint, without the support of somebody like Eclipse, Skies doesn't get those picks. And while they're on the tally or on the board for Skies, that tally needs to go to other players as well. And that was peak DarkZero. If they can put up a couple more rounds like that, they are still very much in this.
Come down to those early picks like we talked about. None yet for either team. It's going to be an office clear for DZ to start things off. They'll probably also want to clear above. Got plenty of time to do this. They've got office, they got security, nomad air jabs on the security flank, so no pressure to be applied there for TSM. They'll have to find other avenues to pressure into the site. Luckily for TSM, they have opened up that blue bar, so if it is actually an office take into A, for example, then that blue bar wall being open means that the roamers by the main lobby will be able to deny a plant. So if that should come to pass, then you don't necessarily need the security flank. But it's nice that DZ has that locked up. Mirror window being pressured there by the stuns. ADS cleared, which is going to make that a lot more susceptible to nades, and as such, you will see Geo play away from the window, so he doesn't die to a nade.
Keep your eyes on this opening pick, as we talked about how action had slowed down in the previous 2 rounds, and it seems to be still in that same phase, as there's just a little over a minute left. It's been a quick one so far, but probably seems like an agonizing period of time if you're TSM. For DarkZero, it probably seems like it's been a bit too quick. So they will begin to attack this blue bar setup, as it's the double bar defense, and Geo just manages to scoot away from a grenade that blows up too early inside of Sunrise Bar. Geo immediately pivots, and they know that Skies is in that spot inside of Office. A second grenade is primed and ready, and it blows up a little too early. That's a missed opportunity from DarkZero. Once smoke goes out, Achieved rotates on in. His C4 connects with Eclipse. Down he goes. Hyper picks off Chala and is waiting for more inside of Mudroom. TSM turtled up and waiting for the execute to happen. Sky's holding on to that diffuser, but Merc is going to swing out and fail to connect as much as he wanted to. The Capital of Mint sprints on in, and DZ now have the last laugh as it's Bolo in a 1v4. DZ have everything going for them. Down goes Hot and Cold, but they still have a very firm clutch on this round. Waiting for Bolo to peek around this sofa. Diffuser goes off for DarkZero. Bolo working against this, he'll give a shot away, and his position is given too. He'll have to play around the pillar, but there's no way in hell he's making that shot. Hyper with the cleanup. TSM goes down. That's 2 in a row for DarkZero as they are looking to keep themselves in this map.
We expected DZ to be more efficient on attack, and that is really shining through here. It's excellent to see. Looks like we have ourselves a ball game. It's not done yet, though. DZ still have some cliff yet to climb. 2 more rounds will bring us to overtime, and that will be the attempted take of the map here for DZ. Double bar once again for TSM. They feel strongly that they lost that one, and it is recoverable. You know, we were talking about in the lead-in, we beat ourselves. It seems that's how TSM feels. Usually when you repeat a site right after you just defended it, it's because, no, listen, I made a mistake. I know how to fix that mistake. Here's how I'm going to do it, and blah, blah, blah. And, well, that's all well and good. If DZ sticks to the dress rehearsal and they repeat their execution, do the same thing that they did last time, then correcting your mistake usually will result in a win if you're the defender. But TSM has to be wary of a different attack strategy from DZ. We've talked about this before. DZ's strat book is quite deep.
A lot of that round, by the way, after I had just spent the mid-round of the previous round praising Skies for his play, but how the rest of DarkZero was able to enable that style of aggressive play from the Buck. Mint just decides to spring in either through the window of the B-bomb site, which is where I think he went from because Hyper was inside a mudroom. Mint as the Capitao literally vaults through the window inside of Sunrise and then just kills 2 members of TSM and then just barges up to the mirror window and gets that pick onto Merc as well, playing inside of blue. And once again, a crossfire that was established from DarkZero. So we're going to have another look at the double bars. It has not been anywhere near as successful, I think, as DZ wanted. But, I mean, you might as well go for, or rather for TSM, as TSM wanted, as, yeah, you pointed it out. You only really go here if you say, no, I know exactly what we did wrong. One small change, we're not losing this time around. That's a gamble that, you know, we're going to see TSM take, and I hope if you're a fan of their team that it'll pay off. You can already see that the setup from DZ looks somewhat similar as they're ready for the sound of the starting gun inside of Office, but they'll have to deal with security first. As you had seen Merc setting up the ADS, he's got a lot of angles that he's going to need to watch.
This is a really hard angle to challenge if you're an attacker. The angle that Merc is using there is like under the monitor by the phone, and it's like really difficult to attack. That's why he's holding it. He knows he'll win it even if the enemy knows he's there. But we'll fall back a little. Better safe than sorry, and we've already seen a lot of time wasted here by TSM. Merc doesn't necessarily need to kill anyone as long as he doesn't die. That's the key, and he'll get away. Going up the stairs. No cutoff from DZ, so that pinch is unsuccessful. And Merc came very close to death there, whether he knows it or not. But the key is that he wasted an abundance of time from his position. He managed to delay, and now we've only got a minute left for DZ to execute onto the site. They'll start opening from above, and they've got the site wall open itself. So most of this is going to come down to the utility game. TSM's not giving away those free picks like they did in the last round, but the collapse still worked out for DZ at about an even man count last time. So this isn't far from over.
Masterful job of wasting time by both Bolo as well as Merc, and they still haven't been found yet. DarkZero might have some drones available. We don't know exactly what's up on the board. If we were to believe the drone tally, well, they've got very limited access to intel left, just 2 on both Hyper and Eclipse, and they'll need to get in on it very quickly. Here comes the execute inside a blue bar, but what a beautiful shot from Merc, and Eclipse gone. Removed from action. The diffuser dropped inside of Office. That will require DZ to rotate. Skies trades some of his HP for a kill onto Merc, though. So there goes the Jaeger. But who's going to be up next to try and get this plant off? The Capitao will spring on in. Bolo, who had managed to elude DZ so far, he's up top. He'll rotate through Office, and a beautiful flank played onto Skies. He'll pre-fire away onto some marks. Bolo 3 kills, and Geo will finish it off. TSM takes the round, and with it, the map. They take Coastline 7-4, stealing DZ's pick away from them.
Massive round there from Bolo. We've seen a few of those from him so far through this map. And, well, just this season. This has been the season of Bolo, that's for sure. Well, he'll take that one. Solid job to him and TSM as a whole. Gotta love those flanks. Now, that was map number 1, and it was DZ's pick, but it's certainly far from over. We still got a long series ahead of us, or I would hope so, as this is, well, this has been built up to be one of the peak matchups for the season. I mean, it's a rematch, sure, but I think that just adds to it.
DZ took the initial series in Group B 2-0, and now TSM has drawn first blood by stealing DZ's map away from them. You must be feeling pretty comfortable if you're TSM. Maybe you're feeling comfortable sitting at home watching this on your computer chair, maybe on your television. Remain comfortable, but get up and go get a drink because we got some breaks and then we have another map to go.
Yeah.
Welcome back, I'm Jackie Jing, and I'm with Veli and Jesse. First map going to TSM on Coastline, 7-2-4. That was super fun to watch. Veli, we were watching and literally you said something like Bolo cheats, I swear. That last round was just absolutely bonkers there. But yeah, that was awesome. Bolo doing his thing. But Jesse, I know that you specifically wanted to talk about TSM's bar holds and both DarkZero and TSM adapting to that.
Yeah, so we saw it 3 times. TSM went to defend that double bar. It was the first round on their defense, so they tried it first. And we saw DarkZero really failed to attack this. We had Achieve down below, and Kitchen was feeding Bolo's information on the pulse. I think really that speaks to maybe DarkZero struggling a bit when they came into the second half with their roam clearing. Not finding out that Achieve was down there is a big mistake from them, and then just letting Bolo get those 2 kills was obviously a big issue. So when they attacked there again, when we went into that fourth quarter, what they did was they just ignored that whole side of the map, and I think TSM were kind of not ready for that. They still had a lot of resources over that side of the map. They were hoping that would work again, but since DarkZero went in a totally different approach, so they had that two-pronged push, with Mint coming in through the Sunrise window and just putting on that pinch, That was a really great adaptation, I thought, from DarkZero. And then what we saw from TSM is they ran it back a third time. They said, fine, you can adapt, so can we. And they totally ignored that same strategy. You saw Bolo on the Vigil, obviously, making those late round plays. I think DarkZero got kind of stalled out. Again, they kind of were out of their comfort zone, even though they were coming with the attack. And again, what we saw was just Bolo coming in late and really disrupting everything that DarkZero had put into that attack. So yeah, I just thought that the way we saw Bar play out in that second half was really interesting between these two teams.
Yeah, Bolo, remarkable to watch.
Always.
But come back. I was really excited to see Merc. That first round, my heart dropped. You know, he died so early, and I was like, oh no, you know. But then round 5, he got the ace. Veli, we were all screaming. We love to see it.
Yes, you love to see it. In a little breakdown, Merc is back, baby, and he kicked things off in a fashionable way. So the first round, he died within the first minute, and I was like, damn, it's the same thing all over again, right? But no. In that round where he got the ace, he played it perfectly, but it was kind of a breakdown from DarkZero, and I'm going to tell you why. Merc came in from Sunrise, and that's where Han Code was his post. Han Code knew they were coming in from there. He had the intel, but he backed up. Unfortunately, the Observer went to another gunfight that was happening. But Merc, like a baby, crawled in the kitchen, but the moment he got up, he became everyone's daddy. He popped Mint, got a clip stirred, he killed everybody on the board, and like Kix was saying, who's watching Kitchen Doorway? How is Merc allowed to go all the way from Sunrise through Kitchen and kill Mint behind that shield by the rotation or by Bomb Chassis? That should never happen. And that also raises another question. And I was asking Jesse, I said, why is Valk on the board and we don't see a lot of Valkyrie? Why is Maestro on the board and DarkZero? They barely pick Maestro. Now it's time to start to consider, especially for the team that's possibly the worst one when it comes to playing on defense, to start bringing that Maestro in the 2 Evil Eye, start bringing more Valkyrie, because they played so much better whenever they had 2 or more extra cameras from operators left on the board. And actually, by the way, they were 2-1 with Maestro, so hats off to that, but I don't want to see that type of breakdown. But on the other end, I want to see Merc clap repeatedly, constantly, because Merc got so much crap about that, and he showed up in such a big way.
Aw, we'd love to see it for sure. And Jesse, let's talk about round 8. Chala extremely clutch, but DZ also making what appeared to be strange decisions in that round.
Yeah, so obviously that was when he was on smoke and he stopped it with the kitchen holds. And obviously, like, props to Chala. We talked about him in previous playdates where he's been like this clutch master. So it's nice to see him kind of coming back to form in that sense and getting a lot more of those clutch plays. But really, I think it's like DarkZero made a really one-pronged push into that kitchen bomb site. There was nobody by main lobby. There was nobody service entrance that could really have stopped that play from Chala. So I thought that was a questionable decision from DarkZero. I think they really were shining this matchup when they had multiple areas of attack. You can think again to that second attack under the double bar when the Capitao came right in through Sunrise, right? So that was a bit of an issue. And then the plant spot as well. I mean, this is just something that Kix touched on during the cast, but like, that's really not where you want to plant when you know there's a smoke and there must be a rotate over to that hallway. So that was a little bit unfortunate. I think that can kind of just be thrown up to, well, it's at the hectic end of a round, right? Things are getting a little bit crazy and you've got to plant now, so it can be hard to make those decisions. But yeah, I think that probably things could have gone better with that kitchen attack from DarkZero, and if they had tried it again, maybe things would have gone a little bit better for them if they'd gone back in through the front doorway as well.
I agree.
All right. Let's talk about DarkZero a little bit more, Veli. And you were telling me earlier that you thought their droning was solid,
Always.
but you definitely had some questions about their intel.
Yeah, so no doubt about it. You can never question DarkZero's drone game, because I think them and Space Station, they're top 2, right? But the thing is, you take a look at their match against Space Station, and also what happened when Achieve was posted on this map. Achieve right underneath in bathroom. He was able to call out their best 2 fraggers. Hyper and I'm sorry about that. Hyper and Skies. I was blanked out for a second. Bolo swung out, was able to get the double kill. You have 2 of your best fraggers out the game. That's pretty much unacceptable. And we saw Canadian really call shots in the last series that they had here on the NA League. So they have to have an answer for that, okay? Whether it's a counter, whether it's to focus on posts more, pick Thatcher and just throw an EMP in this area and then make it push. Whatever it takes, you have to do it, because now we're starting to see teams really take advantage of DarkZero when they have that upper hand from extra intel, but you never see that from DarkZero against other teams as much as you see it done against them.
Okay, so usually, you know, our big brain over here, he's always dropping all these crazy stats and like all this behind the scenes knowledge. But Veli, you did some homework. Talk to me about the map history with Coastline with DarkZero.
All right. So when they chose this map, I told Jesse, I said, I don't think this map is for them. And I closed the page. But if I believe correctly, since January 1st, 2019, that map is their most banned at 37, second most is 35. And also, they have the least amount of wins next to Theme Park and also the most amount of losses. So that's not really their map. And if we all remember from USN, their infamous match against Bravo Dark and Vlad, where they beat them and almost secured a spot for land for USN, this map, in my opinion, I called it from the beginning, it wasn't meant for DarkZero to win. I still feel really comfortable about the next two maps, but they're going to have to brush this off and keep it moving. I'm pretty sure that the veteran leadership on this team is going to make sure that they keep their heads up.
All right, gentlemen, now to our community poll question. And the question was, which team will have the player that has the highest headshot percentage? I don't know what's happening with Veli right now. He just turned into... Oh, he's back.
I transformed or something? Okay, my bad.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just for a second, though. But so everybody at home, 60% voted for TSM, and then 32% voted for DarkZero. Okay. And actually, Bolo had 75%, and Mint had 80%. So there you go.
Everybody's wrong.
Yeah, we're all wrong. Gotta love our community poll questions, folks. Okay, but we were all on the DarkZero train before map 1. So, gentlemen, how are we feeling about map 2? Jesse, I will start with you.
I mean, yeah, like, DarkZero really took a risk choosing Coastline. It does not go their way at all. Now they gotta play on TSM's map pick. It's gonna be Oregon that's coming up. Hopefully they'll do better. Definitely, though, TSM look like they're going to take the series.
You don't look hopeful, Jesse.
He does not.
I wanna believe that they will, but it just doesn't look good for DarkZero after map 1.
Okay. Veli?
You know what? I said at the beginning, and I don't care if you think I said DarkZero. I really said TSM. I called it. Merc is back. They're going to win. No, I'm still going to hold on to DarkZero. I'm not going to be a flip-flopper. They have to show up. Teams have bad maps. It's fine. Brush it off. Come back stronger. Yes. So I'm still along with the boys in purple, and it's going to be a 2-1.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see how map 2 plays out. DarkZero versus TSM. Some more action from them. Don't go anywhere, folks. We will be right back.
Welcome back to our TSM DZ extravaganza. I'm Intero and this is Kickstar, and if you didn't tune in, well, you missed a very exciting map 1. Spoilers, but TSM took Coastline 7-4. Most concerning for DarkZero fans is that was DZ's map. So now we switch focus and turn our eyes towards Oregon, TSM's pick. Both of these teams have quite a bit of experience on this map, and Michael, what should we expect knowing that there is a spot at the major now on the line for TSM?
Well, obviously, you would expect DZ to pull out all the stops, but you have to consider the history that both these teams have on this map. So if we take a dive into that, TSM has played it twice recently, and they're undefeated here. They played against Oxygen on this map and Tempo, and they actually managed to beat Oxygen, who is right now the top team in the division for the U.S. On Oregon. So that's a pretty substantial feat right there. and they'll also have that win against Tempo Storm. So Sonics is a team that also has lost on this map to DZ, so there's like a little bit of exchange here. Both squads have success on Oregon. I'd say that TSM's record's a little bit better, but I also feel like Oregon as a map, looking away from the stats, actually should be pretty good for DZ overall when compared to a map like Coastline, for example. I think it just plays into their natural talents.
So we'll see which operators get banned out, and already we've got a change from what we saw on a map like Coastline. If you're going to have a hard breacher get banned on Coast, it's usually going to be Hibana, and that was exactly what happened. But a Thermite ban here is not unorthodox, but not always the most common. Thatcher and Maverick are very commonly banned operators, and neither of them will be banned out at all, so they'll be available as Thermite and Kappa Tau are the 2 attacker bans. Clash has seen a huge rise in her play on Oregon, and well, we're not going to see any of her whatsoever because TSM doesn't want to deal with her, and knowing that DZ likes running her, that's a safe bet. Mira ban, that's largely a formality even though she was available on Coastline. These are very different maps. Echo is no longer soft banned. He's going to be available. Meister will be available. Jaeger and Wamai both can be used together. This could get messy for both teams. As we now turn towards round number 1, one of the points I think you made speaks to me the most. TSM defeated Oxygen, the best team in North America right now, or the best team in the US division, I guess, technically.
Yeah.
TSM defeated them 7-3 on this map. That is quite impressive. DZ's only time coming to this map, it was the same score line and a victory for DZ, but it was over a team that is in a lower group right now, which is the Sonics.
Yeah, and you know, if you're looking at Oxygen a little bit more, I mean, you want to zoom in on them too. It's worth considering that they haven't been losing many maps at all. I think maybe 2 or 3 this season. They haven't had to play too many matches because they keep winning, but at the same time, their record's been pretty impressive. Let me just see if I can find out. Yeah, 2 losses so far. One I want to say to Disrupt, and the other to TSM. So, big job, or good job to Oxygen, but obviously they're not the focus of today's match. DZ and TSM are. And DZ will be starting on defense to start things off. I like the TSM banned out Capitao, and that's quite interesting to me because you could tell how much Capitao played into TSM's strategy on Coastline. So they're going to bring it out, make it a thing, and then remove it at the next opportunity to eliminate any chance for adaptation from their opponent.
Chala will very quickly see the vigil, or at least the signs that, oh my goodness, shot through the window and the barricade, and Skies is downed, and he's finished off, and there's your very first opening pick. This doesn't bode well for the first round for DarkZero. They'll have to find their footing and regain composure after that one. Eclipse is now droned out on the top of Freezer Stairs, as Merc could have possibly gone for a second kill, but the Ash will slow down, but for just a moment. TSM still has that opening that they need, and it's on a vigil. A great operator to waste a ton of time on this bomb site.
Shot through the window, and who's to blame?
No.
You give Roman a bad name.
All right, I'll accept it. I'll accept it.
So, early pick, TSM, that's big. Now, the key to that round was, as you could see, there were 2 players on DZ who were trying to get really cheeky picks, just holding angles, expecting the push, the clear. Now, the key to those picks were, I guess they didn't think TSM was gonna drone. And I guess, you know, Vigil, it makes sense, right? But why the mute? And, well, TSM did drone, and so... Well, DZ lost 1 player, and Eclipse didn't accomplish much. You got a drone. But at least they tried, though.
Worth it, maybe? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
TSM is going to go for what looks to be a very telltale drop, with maybe one of their players heading towards the back stairs to hold that pillar's angle. Harry Potter, whatever you want to call it. And it sure seems like Merc is going to be the one to do that. And I mean, with how he's been playing... It really shouldn't come as a surprise that he would be in that spot. What this means is that TSM are going to completely avoid the bunker setup from DarkZero inside of Blue, where you could see the magnets and the ADSs assembled. this will effectively render those gadgets useless. And well, the Wamai's already moved over. Hyper is playing in Harry Potter. They're trying to get hot and cold out of the position, and there you go. Masterfully done by Achieve. That's the second pick for TSM. There goes Merc, and there goes Hyper, but not in the way that you want. Merc is ready for the next member of DarkZero. He's ready for 2 of them, actually, as he gets a ping and moves towards Freezer. A beautiful shot onto Eclipse. Mint in a 1v5. A grenade sails over top of him, and he's gone. Achieve takes him out. TSM takes the round flawlessly, in fact. And just like that, TSM are only 6 rounds away from taking the 3rd spot in the US division for the major.
So I think I've identified it. Veli and I were discussing on the lead into today what it is that causes DZ to be so cripplingly bad on some defensive rounds, because they have a really poor defensive win rate, like really bad, relative to their success overall in the division. And so the discussion is, what is it that puts them in that position? And I think we've identified it through that round. That last round in particular is a great example. DZ sets up in a way to counter what they expect to happen, and if anything other than what they expect to happen happens, they are slow to adjust. We saw it in the round where Merc proned his way in through kitchen door on Coastline and managed to pick up an ace. Well, he got those first 3 kills in the site. One of those players, one of them should have refragged. One of them should have stopped his onslaught. We saw it in that round. TSM gets the early pick. Yes, great job to them. But then following that early pick, they play the extent of the utility game they need to. They get the hard walls open, the drops open. They do what is necessary. And then once again, TSM is circumventing the setup that DZ puts up to try and stop the attack. And as soon as that happens, it almost looks like DarkZero is standing there waiting to die. We saw at least 2 kills from Merc in that round that were just like, okay, but why are you not, keep your gun up. So if DZ's not prepared for it, they don't know how to counter it sometimes, and that I think is shining through in this match.
Still doing late setup now. We're 30 seconds eclipsed into this round, and Echo comes out to play for the very first time. He was banned in map 1, and it's going to be Hyper on the Japanese operator. Interestingly enough, Hyper, known for his fragging potential, is going to be on an op that we've seen flashy plays before, but it's mostly going to be utility for Hyper in this regard, as he's going to sit nice and safe at the back of the kitchen bomb site and wait with the walls presumably reinforced behind him, as long as somebody's holding meeting while he's relatively secure. He doesn't have to worry about that upstairs presence, because over top of that kitchen bomb site is where a lot of attackers can play rather, and make it a pain for the defenders, and that B bomb site lines up perfectly with kids' dorms above it. But DarkZero's got plenty of coverage right now, and it doesn't look like anybody's going to be able to take kids' dorms from the first floor. They'll have to go upstairs and do just that. I wonder if there's any intel up there, because if not, this might be a tough spot for them to be in. Meanwhile, TSM is looking to take the A-bomb wall. That'll lead into dining and begin to get the execute off. There goes an exothermic, or rather, there goes an EMP, and there goes a frag grenade as well. Neither really do what they want to accomplish. The Hibana manages to open up a small way in towards the bomb site, but for now, TSM are just going to wait. Still droning out, and they're going to be thwarted by those mute jammers that are present thanks to Mint being on the board.
Look at how strong of a contrast you have between the first round and now this round. You can see DZ is well prepared for the attack that TSM are bringing out, and they're countering it perfectly. When it goes according to DZ's plan, things look a lot different, and it looking really solid for DarkZero. Now, no picks for either team just yet, but the sheer amount of time that's been wasted is key here, especially considering the hard destruction that's come out from the attack. I would have expected TSM to get control of the lockers at this point. Ash sets up on the window. You can see that Hot and Cold will just narrowly avoid death, but avoid death he has. And as such, DZ continued to persist, continued to delay, and deny the plant. Geo will get downed and finished off because he had to go through a prone hole. That's thanks to the thermite ban that DarkZero brought out earlier, all according to their master plan. Chala will get Hot and Cold, though, on a long angle, so down goes the Wamai, who had been playing inside of lockers. Here comes Merc with the flank. The exchange right now working for DZ, though, as Merc will finally get shut down. The plant going down from Bolo, which means Chala needs to cover, but the Yokai drones are still in play. Bolo won't be able to plant, and the frags are not gonna happen. DZ SSG will take the kitchen defense.
Really messy end to that round, and honestly, you know the yokai drones are going to be there and you don't account for that. Well, I mean, I get it. TSM had a lot of steps that they needed to take before they were able to securely get themselves into the A-bomb site and try to get the plant down. I understand they were making good pace, getting the wall open onto A-bomb site, and then they waited, and then they tried to drone out. And I think there was some dissension among the ranks in TSM, largely because of the setup that DZ had. The way that Mint played that, and the way that Mint's jammers were down, and the way that DZ were able to move around it, meant that TSM just had to go for straight gunfights and didn't have tons of intel on where they could begin to assault on the bomb. That ultimately ends up benefiting the defenders, because if you win your gunfights as a defense, then you're going to still require the attackers to commit the objective. We talk about it so often. As an attacker, you have a goal, and that's to get the diffuser down. As the defense, if the time runs out, you win. That's really it. So DarkZero not only has utility working for them, they have that lifeline, which is the yokai drone playing inside of the bomb site, and with Hibana being on the board, you know that 2 of those X-Kairos going off on the A wall, Execute's likely going to come from A, keep a yokai drone in there. If there's no IQ on the board, if Thatcher's EMPs haven't gotten the yokai drones, you're as good as golden. And then when it does get down to those final 15 seconds, as long as Hyper's still alive, he's laughing, because he knows that he's got you stopped in your tracks. 2 bursts of the yokai rounds over. DZ ends up winning it basically on a war of attrition at that point. So that is an unorthodox bomb site. It's been talked about by the analysts before how few teams actually go to that dining kitchen defense, but it works for DZ, a team that we had just chastised for not being that strong on defense. Now they're going to go upstairs to this kids' dorms bomb site, where things tend to play out a little bit more routine. And it looks like it's going to be an attic take from TSM, which is exactly what we expect from the attackers right now in this meta.
No, I think the analog for is DZ going to take the round is, do they seem to be prepared for what the enemy is doing, right? So that last round, in stark contrast to the first round, DZ were well prepared for the execution coming from small tower. In fact, they set up specifically for it. And they managed to hold out against it for the entire round. They looked really solid there. What happened in the first round? Well, a couple different things that DarkZero did not anticipate, it seemed. So it's just, yeah, I don't know. I think that's the big difference maker for their defensive rounds. I think that if DarkZero can take 3 rounds here on defense, they're looking a lot better than you would typically expect an Oregon team to be after taking 3 rounds. You know, you'd think Oregon is going to be a 4. Oh, that's almost a pick there. Hyper takes a little bit of damage. He's caught sleeping on the big window in dorms, and almost loses his life. That could have costed, but not in the end. Mark comes out. Achieved will probably just his nade, but nope. It goes sailing, does some damage, but not enough to get the kill. More marks attempted, but not gotten, and the nade does come out. The kill is made. C4, though, in exchange, and Achieved will save himself with a beautiful catch, shooting the C4 as it hits the floor. Down goes Houghton, who has been read by TSM, and Bolo will pick up that frag. DZ falling apart here, as everything they attempt falls flat. And they're going to have to do some serious heroics in order to bring this back from the brink.
TSM reading into that one masterfully, and Achieved no less, calling it out, allowing Bolo to be able to snag the kill on a hot and cold. And well, now you look at the rest of DZ spread out as they are, and their numbers are going to continue to get very thin. There goes Eclipse. Mint and Skies remaining, and it's all on to Skies now as Mint goes down. Another flawless round possibly coming up for TSM. The answer, yes, it is. TSM with 2 rounds so far. Both of them pitch perfect. They commandeer kids' dorms, swing on in, and they take the round with it, and they regain the lead.
Once again, another round for TSM where they just seem so confident in taking their fights, and they have the information into their advantage. Well done to them on the execution. I really like what I saw there by the big window when it came to the nades from Achieved. And the fact that he wasn't punished for that, and in fact got another kill off of that, that was massive.
So, Meeting Hall and Kitchen, which is the 4th bomb site that we've seen. DZ obviously trying to throw everything at the wall to try and prevent TSM from gaining a major foothold as they did on Coastline. And I mean, You saw what happened on Coastline. TSM run up the score, take advantage of the momentum, and it really pushed DZ back. There's that one round in particular, I think it was the Chala round. If Chala doesn't clutch that round, I think we have overtime on Coastline, and we're looking at a very different landscape heading into Oregon. Hell, we might even still be in the analyst segment before we get into map 2, if that's the case, because going into OT would have extended map 1 by quite a bit. But instead now, DZ is playing off of the fact that Oregon does have 4 viable bomb sites. And yes, the redheaded stepchild of those bomb sites is the dining kitchen defense, but DZ proved that they can still win that one. Now, obviously, a meeting hold is going to play quite differently than a dining hold. Usually you're going to have somebody playing upstairs and attic. Teams like to reinforce attic because they know how crucial that verticality is. And that's what Hyper is doing right now, aided by Eclipse. But they may even keep a rotate open so that DZ can be able to escape or give pause to the attackers from just pressuring into attic. So with that said, DZ is once again going to take quite a while to perfect this setup. And it will indeed be a full roam upstairs as they look to try to waste time, utility, and drones from TSM.
A bomb has been located.
I have this strange feeling like DarkZero's best sites are going to be the kitchen sites, both of them. I mean, so far that's obviously been true, right? And it looks like that might continue to be the case just because of the way that TSM's been executing onto top and bottom. They seem so confident, so sure of their take, and DZ has been struggling with that. Now, on this meeting kitchen defense, everything's going, I guess, according to plan so far for TSM. Pretty efficiently taking control of the small tower and opening up that angle into kitchen. But I don't think that that's going to get them the win by itself. As you can see, they've got a good setup here, or DZ have a good setup to deny the plant in B, even with that hole being opened. Mint staying alive in security is going to be integral to the outcome of this round, but he should be able to do that fairly easily because he's got support from from Houghton, who's playing inside a meeting, who can hold the cross, and then more importantly, an SAS operator in security. That's a dream engagement for them. SMG-11 if it's a kitchen fight, shotgun if someone's trying to push your security door. You win those 90% of the time.
Lots of versatility from either the Smoke or the Mutant. It looks like they're both rocking that exact same loadout, as you'd mentioned, with the pump shotty and then the SMG-11. And DZ have proven that despite the recoil of the SMG-11 being a little bit too much for certain players in the professional leagues, that they're able to do quite a good job of it. First contact almost coming at the top of White Stairs as the UMP pitter-patters away. Doesn't hit any of the shots onto Merc, but down goes Skies as it was a joint effort. He had been corralled inside of dorms, but DZ with an unfortunate team kill. No one to Hyper. That will blunt the momentum that DZ was starting to build up. And with it, they have now trailed and lost whatever they had going in their favor. The walls will now close in with 40 seconds left, but Mint will have to fight his way out of security and starts by doing so quite well onto Merc. Back to a 3v3 and well within the win category of DarkZero. The question is going to be, what can they do to try to get Mint out of this spot? He'll throw out a toxic canister and it will prevent a drop from the hatch, so TSM will have to move their chips on the board. And Achieved will be the one to try to do some damage to Mint. He's got a frag grenade nice and ready. Down it goes. It'll push the smoke out, but it doesn't. It goes off early. Mint survives, he perseveres, and TSM might find that this roadblock of the smoke is too much to hold up against. He gets taken out before Eclipse got one kill. It's a 2v2, diffuser going down, but there's Achieved. Geo will need to attempt the plant, and they'll start spam pinging away on the Maestro. Achieved finishes up, and TSM takes the round in a nail biter, with Achieved watching Geo as the Avenger over that diffuser plant.
Oh boy, so much to unpack there. Thing number one, Mint losing his fight to the Habana in the kitchen. What the heck? That's not supposed to happen. Geo, big ups for that one, as he could be the sole savior for the round for TSM, but then on top of that, Achieved winning his fight against Eclipse on the freezer stairs. That's also massive. Neither of those fights should have gone the way of TSM, and it's actually quite hilarious when you think about it, because DZ's entire setup hinges on those SAS operators being capable of winning those favored engagements. And yet that did not happen. In fact, everything else went right for DZ. every other engagement everywhere else on the map was looking good for DZ, but then when it came to the push into the site, which is the exact countered play that DZ is actively countering, they lose that, and then the server, I can't get over that. Achieve just walks in and wins that one up. Close range against a shotgun. I think he was reloading. Whatever it was, though, that's not a sufficient enough excuse. I'm really surprised that TSM won that. And I think it happened in a really funny way. So props to TSM for taking the dub. Although I do question how DZ played that.
Mint did his damnedest inside of security, though, and I don't think we can fault him at all for the way that he played it, even after that unfortunate team kill onto Hyper. I mean, when you have a team kill, number one, you have to deal with the obvious wrinkle that comes through the mood, but I don't think a team like DZ would let it affect them that much. It's one of those deals where you just shrug it off and you continue to play on. But what you do remove is a very valuable part of that defense, and given how structured DZ is and how certain rounds it looks like if things don't go according to plan for DarkZero, they are not always the most adaptable team. Yes, Min is a tremendous IGL, but there's a system that DarkZero follows and adheres to, and if things don't go the way that they expect, sometimes it looks like they stall out in rounds, either on defense or attack. Who knows, maybe losing Hyper meant that they couldn't account for what they wanted, and because of that, and that alone, it completely unraveled their entire defense.
Now, TSM, clear out top and middle floor. I don't think there are any roamers. Like to get a count of all these defenders, but it looks like we've got a pretty, it's a full bottom floor hold right now. A little bit of player, or few players rather, on the periphery of the site. You can't really call that roaming though. So DZ have a grasp downstairs. TSM have isolated them. They'll put air jabs on the rotations, and then DZ won't be able to rotate back up. Freezer drop gets opened up. That'll apply pressure to Freezer, which will allow a push into Freezer later in the round if TSM should choose to commit to that. The Freezer wall gets late reinforced by DZ, which eliminates the angles for TSM to use should they attack into Freezer. They're not going to be able to open up the wall either because, well, Thatcher isn't anywhere near the Freezer. He could be used over there later, but I think the focus is different here for TSM.
Called into action as Merc. Bolo gets one kill, adds to that. It's 2 kills for him. They're in the back of the bomb site now, and TSM has control just like they'd want. You'll need plant denial if you're DarkZero, but TSM looks like they're just beating you to the punch. Down goes Hyper now as well, as Mint will scramble to get back into supply room, the smoke fading behind him. Shotgun out, he's uniquely equipped to take any engagement that comes his way, but he's going to lose the protection of the wall next to him through some X-Kairos. Pop him up, but he gets shut right back down, and TSM almost a flawless round denied by Eclipse for the time being. DZ in a 1v4, diffuser going down, things look bleak, and there's a grenade, but before it can go off, it's achieved with the end of his rifle, burying Eclipse. 4-1 for TSM.
The timing from TSM has been perfect, and all of the blunderous plays that DZ have tried to pull out in order to counter their opponents haven't worked, and that's crazy. I at least expected that shotgun shot to land. The shotgun blast, I guess I should say. I'm really surprised by a lot of what we're seeing here, Parker. I mean, even the beginning of the round, we didn't see it in first person, right? We didn't get to see the kills that Bolo got, but you could tell by the corpses, the context of the kills. What was that? That was Bolo landing 2 headshots he probably shouldn't have been allowed to land on 2 defenders from DZ wide peeking in the middle of sight. And I understand the wall's not open yet. The single wall, not open yet. But still, that's so dangerous. And it's not on DZ necessarily. It's mostly, I mean, we got to talk about Bolo. Even if it's a dangerous play for DZ, how is Bolo landing those shots? He shouldn't. He shouldn't be. And yet he is.
It's been a great series as well by Merc, by the way. Obviously, the ace that he had on Coastline is really going to be center stage, but he's got a deceptive 7 kills. He's very quietly, as we like to say, he's very quietly put up great statistics so far in this match. And of course, Achieved has been popping off with hugely impactful kills, especially with his frag grenades. Those have been divine to watch thus far and have been not just good for getting picks, but also for dislodging those tricky members of the defense who seem to be stuck in spots that you can't really get out from a just straight gunfight. So props to the way that TSM is playing this one up, and in particular, Merc coming back alive. He needed some rejuvenation after, I think, what was a distressing week of poor stats and bad social media. With that said, final defense for DarkZero. We can talk about it a lot. This is a team that struggles on defense. They have abysmal defense stats, if I remember you talking about this before, and I believe that this was discussed where they're great on attack, but not the best on defense, which I think was the opposite of Oxygen, if I remember. Oxygen had great defensive stats.
It's the opposite of Oxygen. Oxygen win on defense about 60% of the time and lose on lose about 60% of the time on attack. It's right. Yeah, they're opposites of each other.
Yes, and that was the storyline before, and well, now here we look at a team like DZ, and I don't know what they're going to change, but they're going to need to obviously swap something up. There's still plenty of time for them to be able to get back in this match, but this being TSM's map, and given the fact that Oregon tends to tilt towards the defense, with it's a new map and just the way that it plays out in its overall structure, this could be DZ, falling off very quickly. I don't want to write them off before we get through this final round and before we see the side swap, but there's trouble in the water for this DarkZero team.
Yeah, I think this last round of the first half is really going to dictate a lot of the pacing moving forward. As if you end 4-2, that's actually okay. That's fine. For DZ, that's perfectly comfortable, actually. They'll switch on to attack, and they'll likely be more proficient. But if you end 5-1, things get a little bit scarier. I really gotta say, that is a dangerous position to find yourself in. Now, you can see Merc is actually posted up on the Dorms Repel, small Dorms Repel. He's got a long angle towards white, and he's probably been hurt here, but not certain. He's waiting for an opportune kill. That Legion Trap will give away the Thatcher of Bolo, trying to ascend the server stairs, or the freezer stairs, I should say. Nade will go in and do some damage to Houghton, but not enough to matter. I don't know if they're aware of this player. It seems like they are as they open up back server wall. The rotate will come out, though. No one's there to catch him. Bolo could have, but he was trying to help his teammate pinch. Technically, that's the safe play for TSM, that they double peeked him in server instead of taking the risk of splitting up, but they don't get a kill as a result.
Some maniacal laughter now as Hot and Cold slips right through their fingers. He's a whisper in the wind as he looks to get back to the bomb site, which is upstairs inside of Kids' dorms. 15 seconds left. Nobody's died just yet. Rough spot for the IQ to be in. First kill goes to Chala. Merc wins the gunfight against Hyper. They shouldn't be getting away with this. In springs the IQ, taken down by Sky. Shotgun out, trying to do double duty, and he'll do just that. Diffuser going down in the corner. It will fall on the shoulders of Achieved, but he's dropped as well. Geo will need to pop up, but no! It's a big round for DarkZero. They win it in the final seconds, and they will emerge, still trailing, but not as bad as before. We'll swap sides. It's a 4-2 lead for TSM.
So I'll be the one to say it. They needed to win that round. DarkZero had to take that. And as they have, they are certainly still in the running for this series. This could go all the way to map number 3 now, as we switch on to DZ's attack. Again, we got to stress how much better DarkZero are on attack, but at the same time, this is Oregon we're talking about. And Oregon is by far and away the most defender-sided map in the US division through this season. It's actually been played quite a lot too. So that's not a fluke statistic. It's got a 69% defensive win rate. Nice. And it's been played...
Hold on a second here.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Nice. And it's been played a whopping 7 times. Which, actually, I think this one will make it 8. And that's, yeah, that makes it the most played map in the division. So, this is, yes, a better side for DarkZero, but on a map that doesn't necessarily support that. This is certainly TSM's map to lose, and thus their series to lose right here.
Defense number 1 for TSM is going to be downstairs in Laundry Supply Room. Big ups to DarkZero for playing every bomb site on this map. So it's not like we have to wonder if we're going to see all 4 come out, depending on what happens from TSM. I would imagine that dining and kitchen might not be on the docket unless things go really badly for TSM, just because it does hold a really low pick rate. It's defendable. I think the stats are actually very defender favored, but I think that's because of small sample size. If my...
We're talking about bottom, or wait, where are we talking about?
I'm talking about kitchen and dining.
Oh yeah,
hall, mess hall. It's very defender sided, but if I remember correctly, it's just because it's played so infrequently. So
it's at 50% right now, and it's only been played 5 times.
It's like when you have somebody who gets 1 or 2 kills. Oh, Achieved gets smoked. Eclipse hits the deck and down goes Achieved. First opening pick of this series, or this half rather, is going to go to DarkZero. That's what they need to open things up and continue to snowball from there. It also eliminates somebody who was playing over by the back of the tower. So pillars might be a little bit more clear for DarkZero to begin to take. A lot of teams are not really putting much emphasis on the bunker/blue setup from the defense. Instead, what is currently hip and cool is to take the back tower stairs and then go for that box hatch. So expect to see the same thing from DZ, and by taking out the Jaeger, it's going to be a lot easier for them to pull it off.
Hyper gets downed and eliminated by Bolo as he attempts to push down the freezer stairs. Eclipse will get the refrag, though, peeking the very same angle. So second time's the charm for DZ. TSM now struggling. And it looks like DarkZero's stats are stronger than Oregon stats, brah! Or maybe just those early picks render DZ in the advantage. Now, they did lose Hyper, but he hasn't really been doing much this map. And to me, that just says once he starts doing things, this actually might take a strong turn in the favor of DZ.
We'll see as they look to hold out. We've seen teams be able to pull this one off quite quickly by dropping and taking control of one of 2 angles that need to be held, especially by that box drop. DZ are taking their sweet time, waiting very patiently as it looks like it's going to be a split execute. Eclipse in, wandering through the barbed wire, but Merc is distracted right now. I don't think anybody's watching this Buck playing here, and there's lots of damage done by Eclipse. He picks up his 3rd kill. He's got every single one, looking for a 4th. More Jackal marks coming in, but he's going to be obscured by the smoke for now. No ace for Eclipse as Hot and Cold picks off Geometrics, and there goes Chala. DZ right now looking mighty good, at least through 1 round of attack. Keep it up, and that gap will continue to close more. DZ's within 1 round of tying it up with TSM.
Mighty good, mighty fine, super on point. As that execute upstairs, I think was really the undoing of TSM. Losing 2 players early in the round. Bolo playing inside a freezer. Got a little aggressive peeking it the second time. Kind of greedy, not necessary, and ended up costing his team in the end. DZ, despite having pretty poor statistics on the defensive side in this map, we're better at falling back and realizing that it was time to go. So well played to DZ for making that round happen. And as a result, it does instill a lot of confidence, I'm sure, in their fans, a possibility of this going to a, well, actually, in DZ's favor. We're only, I mean, you know, it looked like for a while there, we had TSM so far in the lead, right? But that's the real tricky nature of a 4-2. There's really not that far in the lead. We're now 1 round away from this being even Steven. And that's the trick to it, I suppose. TSM are going to try the bottom floor 1 more time. They're going to need to do better at controlling the angles that are being pressured from DZ. Similar to TSM, DarkZero have been employing a tactic of finding the gap in the defense and exploiting it. In that last round, it was blue. Lots of utility in blue, but TSM had abandoned it thanks to their low man count, those 2 early picks. And because of that, well, Eclipse could just walk on in.
So, obviously, the same thought process which guided, was it TSM on the double bars of Coastline, will apply here now as well, as they like their chances for a second crack at the same bomb site of Laundry Supply Room down below. For those of you that are only listening and not watching, you now have a better idea of where the bomb site is. So there you go. You're welcome.
Yes. We are radio broadcasters now, Parker. And they're droning into the tower. Min will spot Achieved, or likely hear him, and as such, Achieved falls back. Geo holding on to blue. You can see it's the double denial operators in these positions. This is where you commonly see the grenades thrown, and you really want to avoid those. So, the ADSs and, well, my magnets will assist in that endeavor. Bolo still trying to hold on to the freezer. Not easy to do, but he's done a good job of that in the past.
Why do you sound like JFK trying to cast this game?
Do I? I don't know what JFK sounds like. Really.
Well, he sounds like what you just sounded like, Michael.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yes. But anyway.
I mean, that's a good thing. Sound like a...
That wasn't bad, actually.
Yeah.
He's got kind of a nice voice, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
There's a flash that goes out on the tussle that'll happen on the freezer stairs, and Bolo is blind on the second time. The first one, it doesn't really land nor connect. DarkZero are able to take some of the ground up towards freezer and will now begin an even deeper push, as they have 3 drones, 2 that are visible to us, active inside of freezer. TSM has not completely given up hope just yet of holding this angle, though. They've got yokai drones in play, and Bolo is still waiting for them very patiently. As Achieved will now head up and drop an ADS, so if they try to flash, it'll get stopped and caught. Chala can also pivot as he's sitting on the bomb chassis, which is right by the opening into freezer, so 3 separate members of TSM are waiting and prepared for a freezer take from DZ. If you look at the lineup on TSM, there's only 1 C4, though. 3 toxic canisters await DZ's push. Instead, the remaining members of DarkZero are up top, and they're going to go for this pill drop, or this box drop, if you want to call it that. They'll drone into bunker, and another drone comes out. Why not? You lose one, you've got a second one right there at your disposal. TSM's sitting pretty right now, but you've got to make sure somebody's watching pillars. It looks like that's Achieved's job to do just that. Some of the wall inside of box gets opened up. Second frag grenade goes down. More of the wall goes, but TSM is going to clobber DZ. A drop is met with full force from TSM as they have every single kill on the leaderboard right now. They'll add to it, and there you go. TSM's third flawless round on Oregon alone. They have looked mighty prepared for DZ on a number of these rounds, and that one was no exception. They regained the 2-round lead that they had, and it's 5-3 for TSM.
Parker, that's crazy. I mean, okay, here, let me explain what's crazy about that round, okay? Last time TSM defended bottom floor, they lost 2 players early, and when the push came from DZ, TSM had abandoned blue, and then also were just losing their fights in the site, right? They didn't have any control over the angles that were necessary at the time they were necessary. TSM's timing was off, the holds were off, and the manpower was low. So TSM corrected all of that, directly responded to it by their positioning and play in seconds. Most teams need a little bit of a breather to think about what they did wrong and come back to it. TSM did it immediately. They went to the bottom floor, lost the bottom floor pretty horrendously. Went to the bottom floor a second time right after and corrected every single mistake. They didn't get any picks early on. They didn't hand them over to DZ. No man count favor for the attack. They still held blue. The same rush from DZ came into blue. TSM was still there. And more importantly, they opened blue so that not only did they hold blue while still being there, but they bolstered their anchors by being in blue through those open angles. So it was a double whammy there for TSM in the setup. So they adjusted things to make holding blue long-term more feasible while still helping the site. It's beautiful stuff. And it's a quick adaptation that I have to pay respect to. Whoever made the shot call there, 10 out of 10.
TSM's on-the-fly calling has always been quite good and has impressed me. And I mean, that's part of what allows a team to make a deep run at any big event, let alone SI. Now, they're going to have to shot call Merc into a better position, as that early fight doesn't leave him with very much HP, and Doc is not an operator that is trotted out by TSM all that regularly. Funny enough, it is an operator that DZ Hyper in particular likes to play. So Merc will lurk downstairs. We'll see if he gets droned out, as there's one flank drone left in security. It might actually have a vantage point here for Hyper to be able to finish off the Jaeger. Merc will have to come out swinging. He thinks he's going to get pushed from classroom, but he's actually going to get pushed from the bottom of white stairs. Look at this angle. Try and distract, and there you go. Bait Merc, and a shot will take out the drone. He's crouched level. Hyper will be able to adjust quite well here, as it's a standoff. Who blinks first? That's the real question. Cue the Jeopardy music, please. They'll drone him from below, though, so Merc's position will be given away, as now a second drone is put in that same spot. Is somebody from TSM being called to help from insecurity? Well, Hyper seems to think so, even though there's a drone there. All the while that this is happening, Achieved is creeping up from the back tower, and an execute from DarkZero will likely be taking shape on this dorm's bomb site upstairs.
Well, the Roamers are doing a good job of delaying right now. The key is that Merc just fell back. If Hyper had peeked into that, he doesn't know it, but Hyper would have won that fight. Merc's gonna die to 1 bullet from his AK. Well, the fact that he falls back is definitely going to change this round, because that could have been the 5-4 advantage DZ, but not so. DZ very focused on this big window. They've got to be wary of the downstairs presence, and that's why they were so focused on clearing out the roamers early on. Mint going for, it looks like a flank. He'll stun himself as he tries to keep his gun up to his opponent. That's smart. As the shotgun, I think Bolo is trying to get aggressive there, and he'll continue to get aggressive. I'm not sure what the plan was there for Bolo, but it doesn't work. Chala, though, will get Houghton as he attempts to vault in through the big window. So it's even Steven, and the engagements are 4-4.
DZ's push from the top of White Stairs, expecting somebody to be playing over by that old spot that was labeled as generators. Chala gets his second kill before being punished by Eclipse. Diffuser is down, and there's a swing from Merc. He misses. Huge round from Eclipse. They'll need to retrieve the Diffuser, though, as Achieved and Geo are still very much upright. And there's a Nitro cell from Achieved waiting to punish DarkZero. Mint will unfortunately tag out. That is terrible timing, and that should be match point for TSM. Indeed it is. A stroke of bad luck for DarkZero. Your heart goes out to them. But TSM will sit 1 round away from putting Oregon in the history books.
Well, that's really unfortunate timing. You said it yourself, Parker, and I wholeheartedly agree. As you could see, Geo was allowed to play in a position that would have been exposed to Mint, and he was able to deny the plant because of that. That's rough. That's really massively rough. And I think that's got to be crippling for DZ morally in this kind of a scenario where, you know what this means right here. If TSM take this next round, they make it to the major. They get that ticket. They're done. They qualify. Congratulations. All the rest of the results don't really matter. The only thing that matters is they got that 1 win. DZ will be confirmed 4th place for Group A in Phase 2 of Stage 1. I know that's complicated, but you'll figure it out just as we will as time goes on. And that means that DZ, yeah, they can still get to the major. They can still qualify, but they'll have to do so through another competition later down the line. So where TSM gets that free ticket, they go all the way, done deal. It's more work put on DZ's shoulders. That is, of course, assuming DZ does not rally back right now, win 3 rounds, bring it to overtime, win those 2 rounds, bring us to map number 3, and win that map. Which could still happen.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen crazier things. And I mean, there was a very similar comeback that started to unfold on Coastline. DZ was at even greater odds of losing, as they only had 2 rounds at the time. They've got 3 now. So if they do pull off a comeback, you only need to win 3 rounds in a row. Which happens actually more often than you'd think. That trifecta, as we call it, the 3-site rotation that is perfectly done on, oftentimes on defense, can also be accomplished on attack.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's a meeting defense. So as I had speculated, and I'm sure most sane people would have agreed, it's not going to be a gamble on that dining kitchen defense that some teams might pull off, but TSM are going for the safer bet. And once again, if you can defend well above, then that can somewhat translate to a meeting defense, but you're going to need different tools on attack to deal with it. So what does DZ bring, and how are they going to be able to puncture this defense that we see? Well, the Buck will open up some of the spots towards the castle, and with a UMP in hand, he's going to be at a significant disadvantage. Hyper finishes off Merc after just bursting on in, and now the castle is the one being hunted down. But amazingly, Bolo's managed to make it back to the site safe and sound. Still, TSM have forfeited that opening pick. The first blood for the round goes to DarkZero, and they are in okay shape with 1.5 minutes to go.
Top floor presence is the main focus here for DZ. You can see they're going to use their soft destruction to good effect. They're also going to get Geo. So down goes one of those C4s and another gun for TSM. This certainly looks like we're going to 6-4. Solid performance from DZ. The clear upstairs is the main focus, and it's already working out quite well. As you can see, the TSM anchors are shuffling around, trying to find somewhere comfortable to sit, and finding themselves rather unpleasantly surprised there are very few spots to be right now.
1 minute left, a spot at the major on the line. And I like how TSM tried to downplay it. Oh, it's just an online major. As if some of these teams in the other regions wouldn't be killing to get here. This round is all but over, though, for the TSM fans, as DarkZero now pick up their 3rd kill. They've only got to find 2 more, and troubling times for Chala inside of the kitchen. He's going to lose some of that safety and security as he does a do-si-do down below to try and fend off any member of DarkZero from finding him. As he gets pushed back and losing even more HP, that will put greater weight on the shoulders of Bolo, as nobody has been able to find a kill yet for TSM. It's a bit of a belated smoke canister towards that diffuser, but it's enough to stop Hot and Cold and make him have to move. Flashes go in for Bolo. He'll engage in a gunfight with the Nomad, but he misses his shots. Chala goes down, Diffuser goes down as well, and then Bolo goes down. Everybody's down. It's a flawless round from DarkZero. They are still in this. It's a tall task for them to come back, but they are still fighting, and a flawless round to avenge the loss of Mint in the previous round is as good of a starting point as you can get.
Alrighty then. So, one thing I've noticed, a reoccurring theme of this match, is that whenever teams are winning rounds, they're winning them real one-sidedly. It's a lot of flawless rounds, a lot of really lopsided rounds in general. And that was a great example of one from DZ. The top 4 clear, flawless. A vertical pressure, really well executed. Didn't manage to get as much done as I'm sure DZ hoped, but the main goal was to relocate the anchors to uncomfortable positions. They did just that. And then the execution into the site, obviously, as we all saw, a flawless round, the final result. So well done to DZ for that take. And I love what I saw there from the Nomad. The stuns, denying the castle, pushing up. The reason that's relevant is the plant was actually going down in a non-default location. The smoke was denying default plant. So the plant was somewhat exposed to that castle, peeking him, but the Nomad stopped that. And to be fair, even if the Nomad had stopped that, I would have imagined that the other attackers in the site would have. So no matter what, DZ had all their different little buttons buttoned up.
5 seconds left.
Well, laundry again for TSM. 3rd stab at it. First time was not successful. 2nd time was flawlessly done. And we've seen 4 flawless rounds in this map alone. We saw 0, unless I am poor at keeping notes on Coastline. The question for you statisticians out there, and SiegeGG in particular, are these the most flawless rounds that we've ever seen in one single map? 4 flawless rounds?
Pretty high up there.
Seems like an awful lot, but what do I know?
Well, I guess we'll probably find out. I'm sure Spencer will tell us.
Somebody will obviously weigh in. The key for DarkZero is to not push too early on the back tower stairs. That was their undoing last time. They took an engagement down at pillars and then didn't secure any coverage towards box, and by the time they were able to get into box and then try to pressure through blue, it was all but over as TSM had gotten 3 kills. Additionally, DZ had invested quite a bit of effort into that freezer portion off-site. They weren't able to do anything with it. As TSM fell back, that's when you saw Bolo and Chala holding that angle. There was an ADS there as well, and they were very well situated to stop the attackers. This time, DZ still seems quite intent on focusing down on freezer, and that's pretty standard. You're going to want to try to wrestle either the back stairs or freezer away from the defenders, and if you can't take full control of it, at best you can force the defense into positions where you can capitalize off of it. That's why it's so important to get either freezer or that pillar spot first before you try to take box.
And they're trying on the freezer right now. Hyper has been coming alive as of late. He's got those 2 kills, and I know that doesn't seem like much, but he had 0 kills up until like almost 2 rounds ago. And when you have a player who's completely weightless suddenly start fragging out, it really does change the team dynamic. I do mean that, and I'm not being sarcastic. Hyper getting those 2 kills, quite possibly 2 of the most impactful kills of this map for DZ. It's very important that he got them. And if he can continue to do that, if he gets maybe 1, 2, as these rounds play out, that could mean all the difference. Now, the problem is that TSM is on one of their most comfortable sites, and they are going to get the early pick onto Mint, who's trying to seize site, but he doesn't have control that he needs. Blue is still for TSM. Pillar still for TSM. Another box drop is successful, though. Auden gets one, but it's a 1-4-1. And Achieved will reassure the site control. Eclipse, though, will get Geo. Back and forth we go. DZ, though, on the back foot, as they don't have the control they want. They've got Pillar and Pillbox, but not much more. A wide peek from Achieve will do a little bit of damage. And what a shot from Achieve, getting his third. He's really been holding on to this site well. Chala holds the hallway, and TSM take the map and the series. They secure a spot at the major. DZ will have to continue to fight for one.
What a performance by TSM to put an exclamation mark on this series and really just absolutely prove all of the doubters wrong, given what some people might have expected, and in particular our two worthy analysts who are usually quite good at this, but were very off the mark on this one. Both Jesse and Veli, of course, picking DZ to win, and they couldn't even win a single map. But TSM securing their spot, as you said, Oxygen was the first US Division team to claim a spot at the major, followed up by Space Station on Monday and now TSM today. That puts DZ in a precarious position where they'll have to face off against two other US Division teams and the #1 team coming out of the Canada Division. So a lot on the line here for DarkZero, who doesn't want to miss out on a big opportunity for their org to be represented on the major stage. With that said, there's quite a bit to break down, and I know you and I would love to do it, Michael, but there's a reason why we have a team to do it. So don't go anywhere, we have a break, and then the analysts will bring you the goods on that TSM DZ match.
Welcome back. I'm Jackie Jing with Veli and Jesse, and TSM does it in 2, winning on Oregon, defeating DarkZero. And I wish the folks at home could hear our comms, because right before Intero left, he goes, nice predictions, guys. So, yeah, DarkZero didn't take it. TSM did. But you know what? all of us have been saying this. The casters, you two, myself, DarkZero cannot adapt to unpredictable plays. And Veli, we saw this happen again.
You know, there's a thread. I don't recommend that you all go there, but on Reddit, there was something really interesting that I saw during that map. Soviet Plays, he made a thread about how Mint was a super underrated IGL and support player. And Disruptive Noise, who's a DarkZero fan, he said, you know what, I don't know. Like, you know, they're looking rigid and just unadaptive. And a lot of the plebs there downvoted him, but whatever, that's besides the point. But you saw it. Map 1 and their last series against Space Station Gaming, DarkZero, they just came out flat at times. And it looked like they were helpless when it came to a lot of unpredictable play, right? And you see it. And at the end of the day, it's starting to show. These losses that they don't deserve are starting to show. And by round 8, I would have never believed if somebody came up to me and told me that Hyper, Mint, along with Hot and Cold will combine for 3 kills in 17 deaths. That's something that you just don't see. And you know what? I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt to where it was just in their heads and they were somewhat tilted, because these players, along with Hyper, are way better than that.
And can I just say, first of all, I did flip-flop my prediction after map 1, so I'm just going to steer clear of that. But otherwise, no. I mean, I think when DarkZero started on defense and we saw it go like as decisively as it did, it was 4-2, which Kix mentioned it can be a little bit deceptive on how even it kind of is. But still, it's like that's such a mountain, specifically on Oregon too, which is a defender-sided map. So yeah, I mean there were just a lot of really weird little mistakes from DarkZero, I would say, in that first half that really did kind of screw them over.
Little mistakes, Jesse. So Kix, he had a beautiful breakdown about a discussion that he and I had about why is DarkZero really struggling on defense. There was a specific round on round 5 in the basement site that really showed that. You had Merc and Bolo drop down electrical hatch to run into supply. So when Merc dropped down first, he went over to Freezer. Bolo turned into his Brolo, and then he got 2 kills immediately, and Merc ran rampant, collecting a few kills of his own. Now, a lot of things came to mind, and I questioned, why is there just no intel? Why is no one prepared for this gunfight? Why are there no traps? Why is there nothing to stop them? You look at their lineup, Jaeger, Mute, Smoke, Doc, Wamai. Nothing's really there to let them know that somebody is coming to swing by a Freezer to get a kill. No one's going into supply. You have to take a look at these unpredictable unpredictable attacks that teams are throwing at them, because now it's happening way too often. This is not a DarkZero that I know.
All right, and you know, we've talked about DarkZero a lot. I do want to touch on TSM. Jesse, at the top of the show, you said TSM struggles with late, longer series. This was a shorter one, and we saw that they were successful.
Yeah, and I mean, that's something that can definitely vary on the day. It varies on, you know, how the players are feeling, but it does kind of follow the trend where we brought up at the top of the show, as you mentioned. And yeah, it seems like when things go pretty quickly, when TSM get in their grooves right off the bat, that's when they shine. That is clearly what happened here. I think that DarkZero this time were looking like the ones who were just so lost, right? And TSM, you know, they played really well, I think, on map 1. They played fine on map 2. But that's even like against a team like DarkZero, you know, playing fine shouldn't be enough. But TSM didn't make any mistakes. You know, they didn't, I don't think they had to play crazy, and they didn't. And so you've got to give them props for stepping up and just playing solid too.
Yeah, and, you know, this was just not the DarkZero that we're used to seeing, Veli. It was rough today.
Yeah, you know what? You look at this roster, no one needs to get replaced. I just feel like there has to be a different type of mentality when it comes to playing against these top teams. It seems like the top teams now, especially, whenever they go against DarkZero and they win, is against Space Station, especially in that last map we saw, it doesn't look competitive. It doesn't really look close at all. So DarkZero has to go to a drawing board. And even talking to Skies, I said, you know, a lot of people are still saying that unpredictable strats being thrown at you all is your biggest weakness still. And Skies, he reiterated, like, listen, this is something we're working on. We're getting way better at it. I don't think he's lying at all. I just need to see it.
Yeah, and I think...
No, sorry, Jesse, continue.
No, that's all right. I just think there's like a couple of times there where it's like DarkZero just make plays. That's like ridiculous. What are you doing? Whether it's somebody just like watching a window and not reacting as someone swings across.
Yeah.
Whether it's a team kill, right, when they were holding downstairs in the kitchen and somehow the smoke kills his teammate above him who is roaming.
They're better.
It's like, I don't even understand how this happens, right? And it's just like really questionable stuff happened in that map.
Jesse, I want to talk to you about Hyper.
Yeah.
We had so much hype for Hyper at the beginning of this matchup, but he struggled today. And when he struggles, I feel like the team struggles.
Well, I mean, it's the first time we've seen him struggle, right? I was mentioning again, even against Space Station Gaming, Hyper looked good. You don't watch that game from Hyper's perspective and think, oh yeah, well, Hyper's the problem. There hasn't been a single map so far. Hyper's been so consistent the entire season, and it comes into Oregon and it takes 10 rounds to find the scoreboard, right? And when he started to find the scoreboard, obviously, Kix talked about it. The momentum started building a little bit. Like the team felt they looked better on the side of DarkZero. They were starting to hit some shots. They won that round where he got his 2 kills. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, Hyper being totally silent. Obviously, that's going to be a big hit to DarkZero. Again, it's hard to know what's going on from an individual side of things. That's 2 games in a row now in the span of like 3 days that DarkZero have kind of thrown away. So it does hurt to see for sure.
All right, well, gentlemen, we do have our interview ready. Achieved is on deck. Achieved, man, y'all got the major spot. This has to feel great, like a weight off your shoulders. How are you feeling, man?
Feeling good. I'm glad we qualified for the major, obviously. I mean, glad we were able to get our revenge on them too. But yeah, feeling really proud of the team.
Aw, you look happy. And you and Merc really showed up today. A return to form, I would say. Y'all do some soul searching, or what happened there?
No, not really. I mean, we've had a lot of stuff go on behind the team. We've had roster changes. We've tried a few different role swaps even. So we knew that it's going to take some time to get back to our quote unquote old form that everyone saw us last season in an invite. We're still not quite there yet, but I think we're getting better every day in practice, better every day in games, and over time, we'll just be better. But we're still getting used to the hang of the new roles and the new calling and all that. So we're just trying to get more comfortable. And when we do get more comfortable, you'll see us play better like we have been in the last 2 play days, I would say.
Well, y'all have been dealing with a lot of pressure. I mean, obviously, you must have been feeling that. You had to clinch this spot. I'm sure that was so important to y'all. Talk to me about the mental toughness required to play Siege at this level. Your team took some hard losses. You took some criticism. How do you overcome all that?
Well, Merc has received a crazy amount of criticism, and I'm not sure why. Everyone has bad games. You never know what people are going through outside of the game too. A few days before the season, Merc had to drive all the way across the nation. So he's had a lot of stuff going on in the back, and no one has really knew that. But he's starting to feel himself again now. I think it just comes with time, but you've seen him take a break from Twitter and try to ignore some of the criticism. But I mean, you just got to be tough and just don't worry about what other people say, because no one really knows what's going on and what we're trying to do. So we just kind of ignore them and just take a step back, take a break from Twitter maybe, and just focus on our game and don't worry about what other people say.
Refocused, and he clapped back today because he got that ace. I was cheering so loud. But y'all seem to be on the up and up. Y'all think you're the best in the US?
Of course. I mean, that's the only way. I mean, that's what every team, that you have to look at yourself as the best. If you think other people are better than you, they're going to be better than you. So you just got to have full confidence in yourself and your teammates. So
Aw, Achieved. I love that answer. Congrats again on getting that spot. Go celebrate. Thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye. Aw, that was Achieved, everybody. Let's bring it back to our analyst. I like that last answer. He was like, of course. Of course. You know what I mean? You got to have that confidence if you're here.
Well, Jackie, if you're a competitive player, you I would question. I would roast them. They'll be like, well, I don't know if we're better than them. I'll be like, yo, you better shut up and get some confidence.
Veli, I have done some interviews and they have not answered with that confidence.
Only winners think that they're the best, okay? No room for optimism here.
All right. Okay, Veli being like, bring it, have the confidence, that's it. But, all right, gentlemen, we're getting ready for our next matchup here. How you feeling? Moving into Tempo Storm versus United.
But before we move on to that, I just want to say one thing. Big shout out to Merc, because I've seen a lot of players in his shoes, and it's hard to bounce back. Merc showed how scary he can really be in a game, and he went through a lot mentally. So shout out to him. I hope he continues crushing it because, listen, at the end of the day, we all love you, man. But for this next matchup, Jackie, sorry to go off topic a little bit. Like I said, it's the Super Bowl for the trash cans. These two teams are looking to get their first win, so I think it's going to be great. I don't know what to expect. I don't know. Jesse, take it away, man.
Listen, we watched United play on Monday. I didn't get enough of them myself, so we got even more of that coming out here, and I'm sure we're going to get just as good of a matchup.
I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to break the fourth wall, but our producer just said, wow, when Belly said that, and I can't
Don't gas me. Don't gas me.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, a Super Bowl of some sorts coming up next. Tempo Storm versus E United. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back. Jasmine.